Chapter 1193. That young man offended Zhang Zihao. He's courting death. Putting aside the fact that Zhang Zihao's family has the Earth Emanation sect behind them, Zhang Zihao's strength is not to be trifled with. Looks like this kid is going to be in big trouble this time. Everyone looked at Yi Hao. Some of them hurried over while others mocked him. They were all standing around, waiting to watch the show. Hearing Zhang Zihao's words, Yi Hao did not bother to talk nonsense. He directly attacked and slapped Zhang Zihao. For such a person with a dirty mouth, he naturally had to teach him a lesson. Slap! A crisp slap sounded and a huge red mark appeared on Zhang Zihao's face. When everyone saw this scene, they were all taken aback. Oh my god, this kid is too bold. He actually dared to hit Zhang Zihao. He hit Zhang Zihao. He really doesn't want to live anymore. Zhang Zihao's strength is not bad. How could he be hit by this kid? I guess Zhang Zihao didn't expect this kid to attack, so he didn't have time to defend himself. Everyone was extremely shocked. Obviously, they did not expect Yi Hao to suddenly attack and hit Zhang Zihao. The slap mark on Zhang Zihao's face was extremely eye-catching. However, Zhang Zihao was obviously a little confused at this moment. He had actually been beaten up, and by a First-Order Demon Emperor, trash, no less. Most importantly, this was still his territory. He lived in the Earth Emanation City and had always been a small overlord. He had always been the one bullying others. Since when did it become someone else's turn to bully him? After Zhang Zihao recovered from his shock, anger appeared on his face instantly. At this moment, a group of patrolling guards in the city walked over. Greetings, young master. Young master, what happened here? When the guards saw Zhang Zihao, they immediately asked respectfully, "This dog dares to hit me. Capture this dog for me." Zhang Zihao immediately ordered the guards when he saw them. What? Someone actually dared to hit young master. He's tired of living. When the guards heard Zhang Zihao's words, they were first shocked and then angry. After all, this was his patrolling territory, and Zhang Zihao's father was his immediate superior. If someone were to beat up Zhang Zihao in his territory, and Zhang Zihao's father came to investigate, he would not be able to escape the blame. You dog, you're in big trouble. The guard looked at Yi Hao, who was only a First-Order Demon Emperor, and said with disdain, "Arrest him." The commander of the guards ordered. When a group of guards heard the commander's words, they did not hesitate and immediately took action. However, Yi Hao did not resist. He wanted to look for the city lord of Earth Emanation City as well. Now that someone was leading the way, it naturally saved him a lot of trouble. But in the eyes of others, Yi Hao did not resist at all. Clearly, they thought that Yi Hao was at his wit's end. Sigh, I thought that since this brat dared to hit Zhang Zihao, he would at least put up a fight. I guess this kid is scared stiff. That's true. After all, those guards are not weak. Everyone looked at Yi Hao, their eyes filled with mockery and ridicule. Even Zhang Zihao snorted. He thought that Yi Hao would put up a fight. If Yi Hao dared to put up a fight, he would kill Yi Hao himself. However, Yi Hao did not put up a fight. Hence, he could not kill Yi Hao at the moment. However, this did not mean that he would let Yi Hao off. No one had ever dared to treat him like this before. Since Yi Hao dared to treat him this way, he naturally wanted to make Yi Hao suffer a fate worse than death. You dog, at least you know what's good for you. The guard commander saw that Yi Hao did not put up a fight and felt a little proud. In his opinion, since he had captured Yi Hao so easily and completed Zhang Zihao's mission, he would definitely be rewarded by Zhang Zihao. Miss Junior, let's go. After settling Yi Hao's matter, Zhang Zihao immediately smiled at the woman and said. The beautiful woman nodded and walked away. It was obvious that she did not take this incident to heart. Before Zhang Zihao left, he glared at Yi Hao fiercely, telling Yi Hao that if he dared to provoke him, Yi Hao would definitely be dead. All of you, take good care of him. Zhang Zihao touched his burning face and said to the group of guards while gritting his teeth, Don't worry, young master. The guard commander immediately understood. So much nonsense. Are you guys leaving or not? Yi Hao also wanted to see the city lord of Earth Emanation City as soon as possible. Hence, he urged them anxiously. Oh my, I didn't think that there would be someone so eager to die. When the guard commander heard Yi Hao's words, he could not help but laugh mockingly. Even the onlookers looked at Yi Hao as if they were looking at a fool. Even Zhang Zihao stopped in his tracks. He could not wait to settle down the woman beside him so that he could teach Yi Hao a lesson. However, he knew what was more important. He could only suppress the anger in his heart and leave. As for Yi Hao, he was led by the crowd and the guards towards the city lord manor. "Commander, how should we deal with this bastard?" When they reached the entrance of the city lord manor, a group of guards looked at the guard commander and asked. The guard commander sized up Yi Hao. "Send him to my room. I will teach him a lesson on behalf of young master." When Yi Hao heard the guard commander's words, he could not help but feel a chill in his heart. He could not help but wonder if this guy had some weird fetishes. Even the group of guards looked at the guard commander with complicated expressions. It was obvious that they had the same thoughts as Yi Hao. However, because they were afraid of the guard commander, they did not say anything. Yi Hao saw that there were many people here and was not in a hurry to make a move. He wanted to see what tricks the guard commander had up his sleeves. Therefore, he was also led to the guard commander's room by the group of guards. "All of you go out and guard the door." The guard commander waved his hand at the crowd. Looking at the crowd leaving, the guard commander's eyes were filled with greed. Yi Hao said, "Brat, take out all the valuables on you, and I will let you suffer less." After the guard commander finished speaking, he released his third Order Demon Emperor realm cultivation. In his opinion, with his cultivation, it would not be a problem to suppress this young brat. In his opinion, Yi Hao is so young and had such a cultivation. He must have a lot of resources on him. If he could snatch Yi Hao's resources, it would definitely be an opportunity for him. After all, this was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. He had done such things many times. Anyway, he was not afraid of offending Yi Hao. In the end, Zhang Zihao would definitely kill Yi Hao. Therefore, even if someone came to find trouble with him, the Zhang family would be there to support him. Chapter 1194. When Yi Hao heard the guard's words, he understood that the guard wanted to snatch his things. However, a mere third Order Demon Emperor wanted to snatch his things? He was clearly overestimating himself. "Brat, don't even think about playing games. Who knows, I might even bury you after you die. Otherwise, you will definitely be fed to the demonic beasts." The guard commander continued. It was as if his words were a huge charity to Yi Hao, and Yi Hao should be grateful to him. However, in the next second, he was stunned. His vision blurred, and Yi Hao suddenly made a move. Yi Hao held the weapon in his hand and placed it directly on his neck. Gulp! The guard commander could not help but swallow his saliva. He could almost feel the coldness of the blade behind him. He didn't understand why he couldn't see Yi Hao's speed clearly when the latter's cultivation was lower than his. At this moment, he didn't doubt that if Yi Hao moved his weapon, he would lose his life. "Young master, let's talk nicely." The guard commander looked at Yi Hao cautiously and said with a forehead full of cold sweat, "I have something to ask you. Answer me honestly. If you don't, you know the consequences." Yi Hao looked at the guard commander and said coldly, "Young master, please ask. I will definitely answer truthfully." When the guard commander heard Yi Hao's words, he hurriedly replied, "I'm asking you, do you know about the Earth Fiend Black Energy?" Yi Hao asked directly. When the guard commander heard Yi Hao's words, his face changed and he was shocked. He didn't expect Yi Hao to ask about this. However, the guard commander nodded his head and said, "I know. This is something that only the core disciples of the Earth Fiend sect can cultivate. The Earth Fiend Black Energy is indeed from the Earth Fiend sect." When Yi Hao heard the guard commander's words, he heaved a sigh of relief. It wasn't easy for him to find out that the Earth Fiend Black Energy belonged to the Earth Fiend sect. If he suddenly found out that the Earth Fiend Black Energy didn't belong to the Earth Fiend sect, it would undoubtedly be troublesome. The good thing was that this Earth Fiend Black Chi really did belong to the Earth Fiend sect. His trip here had not been in vain. "Then do you know the antidote for the Earth Fiend Black Chi?" Yi Hao continued to ask. "The antidote for the Earth Fiend Black Gas? What is that?" The guard commander was obviously confused and did not understand what Yi Hao meant. "You never heard of it?" Yi Hao frowned. The guard commander immediately shook his head. Bang! It was also at this moment that the door suddenly opened, and a guard said, "Commander, the young master wants you to bring this brat over." At first, the guard didn't check the situation in the room. However, he suddenly saw that there was a blade on the neck of the guard commander. His pupil shrunk, and he cried out in alarm, "Commander, are you all right?" The guard's exclamation also attracted the attention of the other guards. "Bastard, let go of our commander. If you dare to mess around, you definitely won't have a good ending. If you know what's good for you, put down your weapon." Many guards held their weapons and looked at Yi Hao vigilantly as they shouted. "Noisy!" Yi Hao shouted softly. The weapon in his hand moved, and there was a flash of blood. A bloody wound appeared on the neck of the guard commander. The guard commander's face was filled with disbelief as he held his neck. Even if he was beaten to death, he would never have thought that he would one day die in his own room because of his own greed. Ding dong! Congratulations to the host for killing a third-stage Demon Emperor warrior. Host Haoshuan has received 30,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for receiving 1 Demon Emperor level-up pill. Bastard, how dare you! Many guards did not expect Yi Hao to actually dare to make a move. One by one, they immediately attacked Yi Hao. However, a group of guards who were not even comparable to the guard commander were no match for Yi Hao. In just a breath's time, they turned into Yi Hao's experience points. Before Yi Hao could leave the room, Zhang Ziheo's dissatisfied voice came from outside the courtyard. "You bunch of trash. You let that bastard bring me here, but it took so long." As soon as Zhang Ziheo entered the courtyard, he immediately realized that something was wrong. This was because he actually smelled the scent of fresh blood. "This bunch of trash. Did they kill that bastard?" Zhang Ziheo's face immediately showed dissatisfaction when he thought of this. One had to know that he had not tortured Yi Hao properly yet. How could he bear to let Yi Hao die just like that? Zhang Ziheo rushed into the room in 2 quick steps. However, what he saw was the corpse on the floor. This caused his face to change instantly and become very ugly. What's going on? Could it be that bastard who did this? Zhang Ziheo thought with a pale face. At this moment, a figure appeared behind him. Zhang Ziheo reacted quickly and immediately turned around. Yi Hao's cold face immediately appeared before his eyes. Most importantly, what caused him to break out in cold sweat was that the knife in Yi Hao's hand was right at his neck. "You!" Zhang Ziheo was shocked and angry. At the same time, he was about to take out his weapon. Seeing Zhang Ziheo's actions, Yi Hao laughed softly and said, "I can guarantee that before you take out your weapon, my knife will slit your neck." When Zhang Ziheo heard Yi Hao's words, although he was unwilling, he still stopped. This was because he did not dare to take the risk. If he lost, he would be dead for sure. "You, what do you want?" Zhang Ziheo looked at Yi Hao and asked in a trembling voice. "Bring me to your father," Yi Hao said directly. This was because, in his opinion, this Zhang Ziheo was just a good-for-nothing rich kid. What he knew was limited. After all, he had heard that Zhang Ziheo had not joined the Earth Emanation sect. What he knew was probably pitifully little. Hence, if he wanted to quickly obtain the antidote for the Earth Emanation's black aura of the Earth Emanation sect, he had to find the City Lord of Earth Emanation City. In his opinion, the City Lord of Earth Emanation City would definitely know more than Zhang Ziheo. Hence, Yi Hao did not want to go through the trouble of finding the City Lord of Earth Emanation City. "Why are you looking for my father?" When Zhang Ziheo heard Yi Hao's words, he was very surprised. "Cut the crap. If you don't want to die, lead the way." Hearing Zhang Ziheo's question, Yi Hao could not be bothered to answer. "All right, come with me." When Zhang Ziheo heard Yi Hao's words, his gaze turned cold as he agreed. Zhang Ziheo's heart was filled with cold laughter. He had wanted to deal with Yi Hao from the start. Hence, he felt that he needed his father's help. In his opinion, as long as his father made a move, Yi Hao would not be able to be arrogant. Hence, he could not wait for Yi Hao to meet his father so that he could see Yi Hao being taught a lesson. However, he knew that it would not be easy to see his father teach Yi Hao a lesson. Chapter 1195. One had to know that his father was the #1 formidable martial artist in Earth Emanation City. His status in Earth Emanation City was even higher. Furthermore, his father was at the first stage of Atman Body Realm. He was a true martial artist. If not, he would not have become an outer sect elder of Earth Emanation Sect. He was in charge of everything in Earth Emanation Sect. Hence, in Zhang Zihao's opinion, as long as Yi Hao went to see his father, he would be courting death. Although he was being held hostage by Yi Hao, Zhang Zihao's face was still cold. Obviously, he didn't take Yi Hao seriously, because in his opinion, as long as he saw his father, he would be able to do anything. As long as he saw his father, Yi Hao would be dead. Then, the danger in front of him would be resolved. Hence, he was full of confidence in his father. You dog, I'll see how you die then." Zhang Zihao snorted in his heart. Now that Yi Hao was holding Zhang Zihao hostage, it caused a huge uproar in the City Lord Manor. Everyone rushed over and looked at Yi Hao vigilantly as they reprimanded him. "Dog, who are you? How dare you barge into the City Lord Manor? Young Master, are you all right? Dog, you dare to hold Young Master hostage? You are destined to die. If you know what's good for you, let Young Master go. If you don't let Young Master go, we will make sure you die a horrible death." The group of people stared at Yi Hao warily and shouted. Their faces were filled with anger. What a joke. As members of the Zhang clan, no one had ever dared to offend them. They were the Zhang clan's guards. Normally, they could do whatever they wanted in Earth Emanation City. But now, someone actually dared to barge into the City Lord Manor and even capture Zhang Zihao right in front of them. To them, this was a huge humiliation and a huge provocation. If not for the fact that Zhang Zihao was in Yi Hao's hands, they would have long turned Yi Hao into minced meat. "If you guys say any more nonsense, I will kill him." Hearing the commotion around him, Yi Hao said coldly. Everyone got even angrier when they heard Yi Hao's words. However, for the sake of Zhang Zihao's safety, no one dared to say anything. However, under the furious gazes of the crowd, if they could kill, Yi Hao would have died countless times. "Everyone, don't worry. Go and find my father." Zhang Zihao immediately shouted to everyone. In Zhang Zihao's opinion, as long as his father came, he would be saved. On the other hand, Yi Hao would be dead for sure. "That's right. Quickly go and find the City Lord." Hearing Zhang Zihao's words, the crowd came to a sudden realization. Immediately, some people began to search for Zhang Zihao's father. "You dog, just you wait. As long as the City Lord comes, you're dead. As long as the City Lord makes a move, this brat definitely won't be able to survive. Brat, be tactful and let go of the Young Master." When everyone thought of Zhang Zihao's father, they clearly felt that they had a backbone. They all looked at Yi Hao and couldn't help but toughen up again. "Where did this thief come from? How dare you barge into the City Lord Mansion and kidnap my son?" Not long after, a powerful aura directly attacked. A middle-aged man, who was dressed in luxurious clothes and was filled with spiritual energy, appeared in front of the crowd. He looked at Yi Hao with an ashen face. "Greetings to the City Lord." The crowd immediately bowed to the middle-aged man. "Father, save me." When Zhang Zihao saw the man, he hurriedly shouted as if he had seen his savior. "Zihao, are you all right?" When the middle-aged man saw his son, he hurriedly asked with concern, "Father, I'm fine. Quickly kill this brat. Save me." Zhang Zihao continued to plead for help. When he heard Zhang Zihao say that he was fine, the middle-aged man heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, the middle-aged man looked sharply at Yi Hao and asked sternly, "Who exactly are you? How dare you kidnap my son? I heard that you are from the Earth Carnage sect." Yi Hao looked at the middle-aged man and asked softly, "This is outrageous. This dog is too much. How dare he speak to the City Lord like that? He is courting death by speaking to the City Lord like that. City Lord, don't waste your breath on this dog. Kill this dog and save the Young Master." When the crowd saw the middle-aged man, they all spoke up. Clearly, in their opinion, Yi Hao was looking down on the middle-aged man by speaking to him in such a manner. This was something that they could not tolerate. When a middle-aged man saw that Yi Hao had captured his son and dared to speak to him in such a manner, he was furious. If not for the fact that Zhang Zihao was in Yi Hao's hands, he would have killed Yi Hao long ago. However, because Zhang Zihao was still in Yi Hao's hands, he had no choice but to suppress his anger. He nodded at Yi Hao and said, "That's right. Who are you? Let me ask you, do you know about the Earth Carnage Black Energy?" When Yi Hao saw that the middle-aged man had admitted his identity, he ignored the middle-aged man's question and continued to ask. When the middle-aged man saw that Yi Hao had captured Zhang Zihao, he was already furious. Now, he was being ignored by Yi Hao again. One had to know that he, Zhang Taichung, was the overlord of Earth Carnage City. Normally, no one dared to disrespect him. At this moment, a mere second-order demon emperor, Trash, dared to ignore his words. There were so many people here. How could he save his face? However, what surprised him was that Yi Hao knew about the Earth Carnage Black Energy. This Earth Carnage Black Energy was the core secret of the Earth Carnage sect. Even though he was an outer sect elder of the Earth Carnage sect, he only knew about the Earth Carnage Black Energy but had no way of coming into contact with it. Only the core disciples of the Earth Carnage sect had the opportunity to come into contact with the Earth Carnage Black Energy. Hence, he could not help but be curious. Why did Yi Hao ask about it? Hence, other than anger, there was also a hint of caution in his eyes. "Let go of my son, and I will tell you." Zhang Taichung looked at Yi Hao and said, although he did not know about the Earth Carnage Black Energy, he still wanted to lie to Yi Hao. As long as Yi Hao let go of Zhang Zihao, he was confident that he could kill Yi Hao. When the time came, he would accuse Yi Hao of plotting against the Earth Carnage sect. Who knew? He might even be rewarded by the Earth Carnage sect. When Yi Hao heard Zhang Tiecheng's words, he nodded his head. With a look of indifference, he let Zhang Zihao go. He was not worried that Zhang Taichung would lie to him. If Zhang Taichung dared to lie to him, he was confident that he would bury all of them here today. Zhang Zihao did not expect Yi Hao to let him go so easily. He was overjoyed and quickly ran behind Zhang Taichung. Zhang Zihao said angrily, "Father, help me kill this dog." At this moment, everyone looked at Yi Hao as if they were looking at an idiot. They looked at Yi Hao. Chapter 1196. I didn't expect this brat to be an idiot. He released young master. If he isn't courting death, what is? Just wait and see. The city lord will make his move. He will die a horrible death. He deserves to die. Since he dared to come to my Earth Emanation City, he should be prepared to die. A group of people looked at Yi Hao mockingly. "Bastard, you're still too inexperienced." Zhang Taichung didn't expect Yi Hao to really release his son. "Go take down this dog for me." Zhang Taichung didn't want to take action against a second-order demon emperor Trash. Hence, he ordered the guards to take him down. Yes. When the guards heard Zhang Tiecheng's order, they rushed towards Yi Hao. "Kill him." The guards waved the weapons in their hands and rushed towards Yi Hao. The cultivation of these guards wasn't low. Each of them was either a demon venerable or a demon emperor. If they were ordinary second-order demon emperors, they would have been killed by these guards in an instant. It was a pity that they were facing Yi Hao. It wasn't easy to kill Yi Hao. "Since you're courting death, don't blame me." Yi Hao looked at the guards and said nonchalantly. That was because these guards were already dead in his eyes. "Bastard, I'll see how you're going to die." Zhang Zihao sneered when he saw the guards surrounding Yi Hao. Obviously, he was still holding a grudge against Yi Hao for holding him hostage earlier. However, with these guards selling it, they felt that Yi Hao would definitely be in for a hard time. But in the next second, he was really shocked. He saw Yi Hao's figure move. Before he could react, he saw the weapon in Yi Hao's hand flash coldly. In an instant, it slashed through a person's neck. Blood splattered, and that person's head fell to the ground. More importantly, it wasn't over yet. Yi Hao was shuttling through the crowd. With every step he took, someone would die. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he could kill one person with every step he took. Most importantly, he, a fourth-order demon emperor, was unable to achieve such a feat. He couldn't help but suspect that Yi Hao was really a second-order demon emperor. How could a second-order demon emperor be more terrifying than him? A fourth-order demon emperor. At this moment, the surrounding onlookers were also shocked. Clearly, They had not expected Yi Hao to be so powerful. Father, this. Zhang Zihao looked at Zhang Taichung in shock. Even Zhang Tieqing's heart was slightly shaken at this moment. Then he said, "This kid is clearly a second-order demon emperor, yet he has displayed such strength. There is definitely something strange about this. Father, please take action and kill him," Zhang Zihao quickly said to Zhang Taiching. Clearly, in Zhang Zihao's opinion, no matter how strong Yi Hao was, it was impossible for him to be stronger than his father. His father was a level 1 Atman body cultivator. Zhang Taichung nodded his head and directly took action. At the same time, he shouted, "Dog, don't be so arrogant in front of this city lord." Although Zhang Taichung was also shocked by Yi Hao's strength, with his strength, he could easily kill the guards like Yi Hao. Moreover, he could do it more cleanly than Yi Hao. Therefore, he still did not put Yi Hao in his eyes. Seeing this, Zhang Taichung flipped his hand and sent out a palm strike, bringing forth a violent force that crushed towards Yi Hao. When the crowd saw Zhang Taichung take action, they immediately retreated in fear of accidentally injuring themselves. I didn't expect this dog to have some tricks up his sleeve. He can actually force the city lord to take action. So what if he has tricks up his sleeve? He's still going to die. I think this dog won't be able to last 3 rounds under the city lord's hands. Exclamation point. 3 rounds? You're overestimating him. I think he will be killed in an instant in front of the city lord. The moment Zhang Taiching took action, the crowd started discussing among themselves. Zhang Zihao heard the crowd's discussion and snorted. "My father is killing this dog as easy as killing a chicken or a dog. It can't be any easier. That's for sure. The city lord is the strongest person in Earth Emanation City. It's naturally easy for him to kill a kid who doesn't know what's good for him. If this kid wants to blame someone, he can only blame himself for asking for it. How dare he kidnap the young master? Young master, this dog dared to do this to you. We can't let him off so easily. Even if he dies, we have to whip his corpse. That's right. He just offended the young master. Even if he dies, we have to make sure he dies without a burial ground." When the crowd heard Zhang Zihao's words, they all started praising him. But in the next second, they were no longer able to say a single word of pride. This was because they saw the weapon in Yi Hao's hand cut through Zhang Tieqing's arm effortlessly. A bloody arm fell to the ground. How can this be? When everyone saw this scene, they were all shocked. In their hearts, the city lord was almost invincible. How could his arm be chopped off by a kid that they looked down on? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? How could that kid chop off the city lord's arm? That means that the kid is stronger than the city lord. At this moment, everyone's face was filled with shock. Even Zhang Zihao had a look of disbelief on his face. While everyone was still in shock, the battle had already ended. Zhang Tieqing's body was covered in wounds as he fell to the ground. Yi Hao, on the other hand, was still as relaxed and calm as before. In fact, with Zhang Tieqing's strength, it was impossible for Yi Hao to defeat him so easily. However, Zhang Taiching looked down on Yi Hao and did not even use half of his strength. If it was an ordinary second-order demon emperor, he would definitely be killed in one move. However, Yi Hao's true strength was equivalent to second-order Atman body realm. If they were to compare, Yi Hao's strength was stronger than Zhang Tieqing's. When facing someone stronger than him, he actually dared to not use his full strength and only used half of his strength. If this was not courting death, what was it? Just now, Yi Hao only used a little bit of his strength to catch Zhang Taiching off guard and chop off his arm. Zhang Tieqing's strength was not as good as Yi Hao's, and now that he had lost an arm, he was naturally not a match for Yi Hao. He was easily defeated by Yi Hao. "Father, City Lord." When everyone saw Zhang Taichung covered in blood, they quickly rushed forward to check on him. Seeing that Zhang Taichung was heavily injured, fear appeared in their eyes. Obviously, they did not expect Zhang Taichung to be so heavily injured. At this moment, they couldn't help but think about how strong Yi Hao was to be able to beat Zhang Taichung to such a state. Everyone looked at Yi Hao with fear in their eyes. If Zhang Taichung was not a match for him, then they were even less likely to be a match for him. Chapter 1197. Zhang Taiching looked at the young man in front of him, and his eyes were filled with astonishment. He couldn't help but feel curious. Where did this young genius come from? How could he be so strong that he could beat him into a pulp? In his eyes, Yi Hao was definitely not a second-order demon emperor, and he didn't even think that Yi Hao could jump realms to fight against opponents. Even if there were some geniuses who could jump realms to fight, it would only be 1 or 2 small realms. But Yi Hao, on the other hand, had surpassed an entire major cultivation level and 10 minor cultivation levels. Even if he told others about this, no one would believe him. Therefore, in Zhang Taiching's eyes, Yi Hao was obviously hiding his strength, purposely revealing his second-order demon emperor cultivation. To be able to do this, and still not be able to see through Yi Hao's hidden strength, it could only mean that Yi Hao was much stronger than him. Who are you? Zhang Taiching endured the pain as he looked warily at Yi Hao. You don't have a right to know my identity. Hearing Zhang Taiching's question, Yi Hao answered directly. If this was in the past, Zhang Taiching would definitely be furious. But now, he couldn't refute Yi Hao's words. After all, Yi Hao's strength was there. What could he do? Zhang Taiching looked at Yi Hao and said, I'm only an outer sect elder of the Earth Fiend sect, and I'm only in charge of the Earth Fiend sect's disciple recruitment every year. Therefore, I don't have a right to know about something as powerful as the antidote for the Earth Fiend Black Qi. Zhang Taiching spoke the truth. Although he was an outer sect elder of the Earth Fiend sect, it was only in name. In the Earth Fiend sect, he wasn't valued and didn't have any real power. Therefore, he naturally didn't know about the antidote for the Earth Fiend Black Qi. Only the disciples who were heavily nurtured in the Earth Fiend sect could come into contact with it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spent so much effort to nurture his son, and let his son suppress his strength to wait for the Earth Fiend sect's disciple recruitment test. Because the first place in every disciple recruitment test would be heavily nurtured by the Earth Fiend sect. There was a high chance that he would come into contact with the Earth Fiend Black Qi, and that was something he dreamed of. Although he couldn't come into contact with it, he wanted his son to come into contact with it. Thus, returning to the main topic, he had not even come into contact with the Earth Fiend Black Gas. Naturally, it was even more impossible for him to know about the antidote for the Earth Fiend Black Gas. Then it seems like you have no value. You could die now. Yi Hao was not disappointed when he heard Zhang Taiching's words. Instead, his voice was cold. When Zhang Taiching heard Yi Hao's words, his heart couldn't help but tremble. This was because he saw Yi Hao's murderous intent. This was the rhythm of want to kill him. Just as Yi Hao was about to attack and kill Zhang Taiching, Zhang Taiching suddenly said, Wait a moment. I know a place that might have what you're looking for. Where is it? Yi Hao asked directly after hearing Zhang Taiching's question. The forbidden grounds of the Earth Fiend sect, the Earth Fiend Heavenly Devil Cave. Zhang Taiching said directly. Other than Zhang Taiching, when everyone heard about the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave, they were all dumbfounded. Clearly, they did not know what this Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave was. Including Zhang Zihao, no one knew what the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave was. Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave? When Yi Hao heard Zhang Taiching say this, a look of curiosity appeared on his face. To be honest, he did not have a deep understanding of the Earth Fiend sect. Otherwise, he would not have come all the way to Zhang Taiching to sound him out if he knew the antidote for the Earth Fiend Black Qi. Therefore, he naturally did not know much about the forbidden grounds of the Earth Fiend sect and what the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave were. The Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave is the lifeline of the Earth Fiend sect. It is the forbidden grounds of the Earth Fiend sect. I think there might be something that young master needs there. Zhang Taiching saw the look of curiosity on Yi Hao's face and hurriedly answered, Do you know how to get to the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave? Hearing Zhang Taiching say this, Yi Hao also started to ask about the route directly. Although he did not know where the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave was exactly. However, in order to save Purple Heaven Supreme God and the others, even if it meant going through a mountain of swords and a sea of flames, Yi Hao would still give it a try. Young master, The earthly fiend heavenly demon cave is the forbidden grounds of the earth fiend sect. Naturally, it is heavily guarded. It is very difficult to enter. Zhang Taicheng said directly. Where's the address? Although Yi Hao heard Zhang Taicheng say this, he could not be bothered to talk nonsense with him and asked directly. In the earth fiend sect. If young master wants to go, I can help you. When Zhang Taicheng said this, there was a look of cunning in his eyes. Just because he was no match for Yi Hao, it did not mean that there were no experts in the sect who could deal with Yi Hao. Therefore, he planned to let Yi Hao go to the earth fiend sect. That way, Yi Hao would definitely die. One should know that there were experts in the spirit martial realm in the earth fiend sect. Even he had to look up to an expert of that level. As for Yi Hao going to cause trouble, what else could it be other than courting death? All right, let's go. Hearing Zhang Tiecheng's words, Yi Hao did not reject. Instead, he nodded and agreed. When Zhang Taicheng heard Yi Hao's words, he was instantly delighted. He had not expected Yi Hao to actually agree. How could Yi Hao not know what Zhang Taicheng was thinking? That was because he had already prepared himself to face the entire Earth Fiend sect from the start. He had only come to the Earth Fiend city to see if there was a shortcut that would allow him to obtain the antidote for the Earth Fiend Black Aura more quickly and easily. In the end, there was no such thing. He could only go to the Earth Fiend sect. As for Zhang Taicheng, he was not afraid at all. He was not afraid that Zhang Taicheng would try anything funny. You guys guard the Earth Fiend city well. I will be there soon. Zhang Taicheng signaled to the group with his eyes. Understand. Zhang Zihao nodded as he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. As long as Yi Hao was brought to the Earth Fiend sect by his father, he would be saved. He also believed that given the strength of the Earth Fiend sect, Yi Hao would not be able to return alive. The two of you come with me. Before Zhang Zihao could rejoice, Yi Hao suddenly opened his mouth and said. When Zhang Zihao heard Yi Hao's words, his face turned ashen instantly. Without waiting for him to speak, Yi Hao carried the two of them in each hand and walked out of the city Lord Manor. As for the city Lord Manor's guards, they did not even dare to stop them. What a joke. Even Zhang Taicheng, a first-stage Atman body realm martial artist, was no match for Yi Hao. He was almost instantly killed by Yi Hao. No matter how strong they were, they would not be a match for Yi Hao. If they tried to stop Yi Hao now, it would be no different from seeking death. However, when Yi Hao grabbed Zhang Taicheng and Zhang Zihao and walked into the Earth Fiend city, they attracted the attention of countless people. The entire Earth Fiend city was shaken. One had to know that the Zhang clan was the biggest clan in the Earth Fiend city. Chapter 1198. But now, they saw a young man capturing both Zhang Taicheng and Zhang Zihao. How could they not be shocked? Who is that young man? He can actually capture City Lord Zhang. Isn't City Lord Zhang an Atman body realm martial artist? That means that the young man's cultivation is also at the Atman body realm, and he is even stronger than City Lord Zhang. But even if that young man is strong, doesn't he know that the Zhang clan has the backing of the Earth Carnage sect? Even the Empire doesn't dare to offend them. Who knows? But it seems like this Earth Carnage city is going to change. Yi Hao led the Zhang clan father and son and flew towards the Earth Carnage sect. After more than an hour, they finally saw the Earth Carnage sect. But what made Yi Hao curious was that the Earth Carnage sect was actually located in a forest. There were towering trees all around, and dozens of huge mountains stood in the middle of the forest. From those mountains, Yi Hao could sense some dangerous auras. Those auras meant that there were at least Atman body realm martial artists on those mountains. But what made Yi Hao even more curious was that Yi Hao could not sense any trace of the Earth Carnage Black Aura. This is really the Earth Carnage sect. Why can't I sense the Earth Carnage Black Aura? Yi Hao frowned and asked directly. There's an array in the Earth Carnage sect that can suppress the Earth Carnage Black Aura, so that outsiders can't sense it. Hearing Yi Hao's question, Zhang Taicheng did not hide anything. Although this was the Earth Carnage sect's secret, to him, telling this secret to a dead person was not a problem at all. After all, a dead person could keep secrets. Where is that Earth Carnage Heaven Devil Cave? Yi Hao asked directly. This. Hearing Yi Hao's question, Zhang Tietjing's face turned ugly. He did not expect Yi Hao to ask about the location of the Earth Carnage Heaven Devil Cave directly. Originally, he wanted to trick Yi Hao into entering the Earth Carnage sect and attract the Earth Carnage sect's martial artists to kill Yi Hao. Because, normally speaking, if one wanted to enter the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave, one did not have to enter the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave. The Earth Fiend Heaven Devil Cave might be located in the mountains, but it was in a remote location. If they were to bring Yi Hao there directly, they might not even be able to attract the Earth Fiend sect's formidable martial artists. What's more, he only knew that the Earth Fiend Heaven Devil Cave was a forbidden ground of the Earth Fiend sect. However, he did not know what was inside the Earth Carnage sect's Heavenly Devil Cave. If that Earthly Fiend Heavenly Devil Cave really had the antidote to the Earthly Fiend Black Chi, and Yi Hao obtained it, this was something that he absolutely did not wish to see. Moreover, he was just an outer elder. If he were to bring an outsider into the forbidden area, it would be a capital offense. Thus, at this moment, he was in a difficult position. What other tricks do you have up your sleeves? Yi Hao sneered when he saw Zhang Tietjing's hesitant expression. How would I dare to play any tricks? It's just that this Earthly Fiend Heavenly Devil Cave is in the center of the Earth Carnage sect. I'm afraid that if we enter rashly, we will be discovered. When the sect master blames us, I won't be able to keep my life. Zhang Taichung thought for a moment and still decided not to bring Yi Hao into the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Devil Cave easily. Otherwise, even if Yi Hao let the father and son duo off, they would not be able to live either. Moreover, his arm was chopped off. This grudge was absolutely irreconcilable. He had to take revenge. He had to see the scene of Yi Hao being killed by the Earth Carnage sect's formidable martial artists. Therefore, Zhang Taiching still planned to trick Yi Hao into the Earth Carnage sect. At this moment, he even pretended to be worried. In the center, Yi Hao looked at Zhang Taiching and could not tell if he was lying. However, why would he care if Zhang Taiching was lying or not? Then, should we sneak into the sect at night? Zhang Taichung was worried that Yi Hao would suspect him, so he said that intentionally. No need. After Yi Hao said that, he picked up Zhang Taiching and Zhang Zihao and walked towards the Earth Carnage sect. What are you trying to do? Zhang Taichung saw Yi Hao's actions and could not help but be shocked. This lad can't be thinking of barging into the Earth Carnage sect openly, right? Isn't he courting death? Zhang Taichung could not help but think. However, Yi Hao did not pay any attention to him. However, looking at the direction Yi Hao was walking in, it was the entrance of the Earth Carnage sect. Zhang Taichung was also shocked. He did not understand what was going on in Yi Hao's head. Who are you? This is the Earth Carnage sect. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter. As Yi Hao approached the Earth Carnage sect, a few disciples guarding the mountain surrounded him. When they saw Yi Hao carrying Zhang Taichung and Zhang Zihao, they could not help but look at Yi Hao warily. At this moment, Zhang Taichung really wanted to ask for help. However, he did not dare to. He did not doubt that if he asked for help now, Yi Hao would kill him immediately. If you don't want to die, then scram. Yi Hao looked at the crowd. They were only of the Demon King realm. He could not be bothered with them, as he said coldly. How dare you cause trouble in the Earth Carnage sect? You are courting death. When the few guards heard Yi Hao's words, they were instantly enraged. They waved their weapons and charged towards Yi Hao. Yi Hao could not be bothered with them. He took a step forward and walked into the sect. When a few guards saw that Yi Hao dared to ignore them, they became even angrier. However, before they could react, Yi Hao's strong spiritual energy came crashing down on them. They did not even have the chance to resist. In an instant, they were all killed. This was the difference in strength. The difference in cultivation between them and Yi Hao was too big. Hence, Yi Hao did not need to do it personally to kill them. He could kill them by releasing his spiritual energy. When Zhang Taiching saw this scene, he was not surprised at all. This was because he could do the same. Moreover, Yi Hao could defeat him. Killing a few trashy martial kings was naturally easy and enjoyable. He probably did not expect these guards to be able to stop Yi Hao. However, What shocked him the most was that he had not expected Yi Hao to dare to barge into the Earth Fiend sect. One must know that in the history of the Earth Fiend sect, this had only happened a few times. Those who dared to barge into the Earth Fiend sect did not have a good ending. Yi Hao's suicidal actions would only hasten Yi Hao's death. After Yi Hao killed these guards, he would definitely attract the strong martial artists of the Earth Fiend sect. Yi Hao grabbed Zhang Taiching and Zhang Zihao and crossed 2 mountains, heading towards the center of the mountain range. Along the way, they met many disciples. There were also many ignorant people who tried to stop them. Yi Hao killed them effortlessly. This made the crowd not dare to approach him recklessly. However, when Yi Hao set foot on the 3rd mountain, he saw a total of 9 people in front of him, blocking his path. "Lad, who are you? How dare you barge into the Earth Fiend sect? Do you know that the consequences are very serious?" The 9 people held their swords and looked at Yi Hao with disdain. One of them shouted. Chapter 1199. This was because the 9 of them were all peak demon emperors. Among the disciples of the Earth Fiend sect, they were definitely the strongest. Most importantly, the 9 of them had been cultivating together for a long time and had great teamwork. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that they were telepathic. Therefore, the combined strength of the 9 of them was far beyond that of an ordinary person. Even a level 1 Atman body realm expert wouldn't be able to take advantage of them. Therefore, when the 9 of them appeared, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They hoped that the 9 of them would be able to kill Yi Hao. "Ah, the 9 Demon Emperor senior brothers are here. Let's see how arrogant that kid can be." With the 9 senior brothers here, this kid has no chance of surviving. This kid dares to barge into the Earth Fiend sect. He's really brave. So what if he's brave? He still has to pay with his life. Let's see how this kid dies. Everyone looked at Yi Hao and sneered. Obviously, in their eyes, Yi Hao was already a dead man. When Yi Hao saw the 9 of them, he didn't dare to be careless and threw the Zhang father and son to the side. Then, Yi Hao directly attacked the 9 of them. Slash. This time, Yi Hao directly activated his martial skill. To be honest, he hadn't used his martial skill for a long time. This was because the rest of his martial skills couldn't keep up with his cultivation. Even if he used them, they wouldn't increase his combat strength. On the other hand, he could still use this slash. Although it was only 1 slash and didn't have any fancy moves, it could increase the rank and power of the martial skill as he used it. Moreover, Yi Hao could feel that the 9 of them were quite strong. Therefore, he directly used his martial skill and rushed forward. "Father, are you all right?" Zhang Zihao was thrown aside by Yi Hao and quickly helped Zhang Taiching up. Zhang Taiching shook his head. He then took out some pills and consumed them to stabilize the injuries in his body. "Father, what should we do now?" Zhang Zihao asked. "These people probably can't kill this kid." Zhang Taiching looked at the 9 of them and said worriedly. Some people naturally heard Zhang Taiching's words and immediately mocked him. "Ha, what kind of joke is this? 9 senior brothers can't kill that brat? This is the biggest joke I've ever heard. Seeing that you were caught by that brat, you must have been scared silly by him. Just watch. It won't be long before that brat is killed by the 9 senior brothers." When Zhang Taiching heard the words of the disciples, he did not argue with them. However, he still firmly believed in his own understanding. Even though he had heard of the strength of these 9 disciples, he had no idea how strong they were. After all, these 9 people were highly valued by the Earth Fiend sect. However, he still felt that Yi Hao's strength should not be underestimated. No matter how strong the 9 of them were, the most they could do was to combine their powers and unleash the power of an Atman body first-level cultivator. But Yi Hao was not just a level 1 Atman body. Yi Hao had defeated him with a single strike. Even though it was because he was careless and underestimated Yi Hao did not use any martial arts techniques at that time. Now that Yi Hao was using a martial arts technique, it meant that Yi Hao's strength would be even stronger. You guys have to be careful. This brat is very strong. Zhang Taiching immediately reminded the 9 of them. However, the 9 of them did not care about Zhang Taiching's words at all. This was because in their eyes, Yi Hao looked even younger than them. They thought that they were talented, so in their eyes, Yi Hao's strength would never surpass theirs. Moreover, now that the 9 of them had joined forces, they naturally did not need to take Yi Hao seriously. However, when the 9 of them saw that Yi Hao was using a martial arts technique, they obviously felt that they were being provoked. This made them extremely angry. The 9 of them immediately cooperated with each other and split into 3 groups, charging towards Yi Hao. When Yi Hao saw the 3 of them charging towards him, he also rushed towards them. At the same time, he slashed out with his saber. Powerful spiritual energy formed a giant saber and slashed out. Before anyone could react, the 3 people in front of Yi Hao were already torn into pieces by the giant saber. How is this possible? When everyone saw this scene, they were all shocked. Although Zhang Taiching had already expected Yi Hao to be strong and that the 9 disciples would not be a match for Yi Hao, he did not expect this. However, he also did not expect this. Out of the 9 disciples, 3 of them were killed in an instant. This made the remaining 6 disciples turn pale. Obviously, they did not expect Yi Hao to be so strong. It was far beyond their imagination. However, the 6 of them did not give up. They looked at each other and nodded solemnly. 6 gods killing formation. The 6 of them did not dare to underestimate Yi Hao at this moment. They immediately formed a killing formation, and the 6 of them gathered their powerful energy. In an instant, countless sword chi floated in the air, ready to be unleashed. It was as if the moment the order was given, the sword chi would instantly fall and cut Yi Hao into pieces. One should know that this killing formation was their trump card. They would not use it unless they had no other choice. Normally, all 9 of them would have to use it together to reveal the true power of the 9 gods killing formation. It could even kill a level 1 Atman body realm elite. However, now that Yi Hao had killed 3 of them, the 9 gods killing formation could no longer be called the 9 gods killing formation. It could only be called the 6 gods killing formation. Of course, the 6 gods killing formation could not be compared to the 9 gods killing formation. This was because its power had been greatly reduced. It's the 6 gods killing formation. He has forced the senior brothers to use the killing formation. This time, that brat should not be a match for them. He will be killed. When the crowd saw the 6 gods killing formation, they were all shocked. They could not help but hope that Yi Hao would be killed by the 6 gods killing formation. However, their expectations were destined to disappoint them. Fall. Among the 6 people, one of them opened his mouth and let out an explosive shout. Following this person's shout, the countless sword chi in the air instantly fell vertically and blasted towards Yi Hao. This brat should be dead this time. The crowd looked at the sword chi that filled the sky and were all shocked. They could not help but speak. This was because none of them had the confidence to survive the sword chi that filled the sky. Even Zhang Taiching was secretly shocked when he saw the sword chi that filled the sky. Even if he was at his peak, it would not be easy for him to withstand the sword chi that filled the sky. Zhang Taiching could not help but imagine what the 9 gods killing formation would look like. In that case, even he would not be able to contend against it and would face the fate of being killed. Chapter 1200. But this 6 gods killing formation was also so powerful. Even he did not have the confidence to resist this 6 gods killing formation. Dad, this time that kid should be dead for sure. Zhang Zihao looked at the 6 disciples with an additional look of worship in his eyes. Hearing Zhang Zihao say this, Zhang Taiching shook his head. Not necessarily. This whatever 6 gods killing formation is so powerful. I don't believe that kid can resist it. Zhang Zihao looked at the 6 disciples, clearly full of worship. Moreover, this 6 gods killing formation was indeed powerful. Therefore, he thought that this 6 gods killing formation could definitely kill Yi Hao. At this moment, everyone was watching the scene before them with rapt attention. Everyone says that the 9 senior brothers are so powerful. Now, even if there are only 6 senior brothers left, they're still so powerful. If the 9 senior brothers used the 9 gods killing formation previously, then this kid would not be so arrogant. Even this 6 gods killing formation, I think it's enough for that kid to suffer. Who knows, it might even kill him into mincemeat. Looking at the sky, full of sword chi descending, everyone could not help but be nervous, because they kept feeling that this powerful sword chi could kill this youth who trespassed into the Earth Carnage sect. One slash, break for me. And right at this moment, a youth's voice sounded. Before everyone could react, they saw a giant blade rushing out from the sky, full of sword chi. This giant blade instantly overshadowed the power of all the sword chi, directly breaking through all the sword chi as if to slash apart this part of heaven and earth. The sword chi that filled the sky was actually defeated by the giant blade and instantly dissipated in the air. The faces of the 6 disciples changed immediately. The sword formation was broken, and each of them suffered a huge impact and flew out. Puffed. The 6 of them were all seriously injured, spitting out a mouthful of blood one after another. It was also at this moment that Yi Hao's mind moved. The giant blade in the air instantly turned into 6 blades, slashing at the 6 people respectively. The blades fell, and the 6 people had no room to resist at all. Instantly, their heads fell to the ground. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for killing a peak demon emperor powerhouse. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 90,000 experience points. Obtained 8 demon emperor leveling pills. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for killing a peak demon emperor powerhouse. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 85,000 experience points. Obtained 7 demon emperor level up pills. Ding dong. Congratulations to host for killing a peak demon overlord powerhouse. Congratulations to host for obtaining 95,000 experience points. Obtained 9 demon emperor level up pills. After killing the 6 of them, Yi Hao heard a system notification in his mind. Seeing this scene, the entire place fell into a deathly silence. No one had expected Yi Hao to be so strong. The 6 of them used the 6 gods killing array, but it was actually broken by Yi Hao in an instant. They were even killed by Yi Hao. Those who looked down on Yi Hao and thought that Yi Hao would be killed instantly shut their mouths and stepped back. The Zhang father and son widened their eyes and couldn't help but step back. Zhang Zihao looked at Yi Hao in disbelief. He couldn't understand how this young man, who was merely a first-order demon emperor in his eyes, could be so powerful. Father, what should we do now? Zhang Zihao was extremely afraid of Yi Hao and looked at Zhang Taiching worriedly. After recovering from his shock, Zhang Taiching waved his hand and said calmly, "Don't worry, I've already informed the sex experts. We can't let this brat be arrogant." It turned out that when Yi Hao was fighting with the 9 disciples, Zhang Taiching had already informed the sex experts. In Zhang Taiching's opinion, no matter how strong and arrogant Yi Hao was, it was useless in front of the Earth Fiend sex experts. Who dares to be arrogant in my Earth Fiend sect? Just then, a powerful aura attacked. Hearing this voice, everyone was overjoyed. It's Elder Zhou. Elder Zhou was one of the strongest elders in the Disha sect. He was a cultivator of the 2nd level of the Lingqi layer. He was considered one of the top experts in the various empires. Therefore, when everyone saw Elder Zhou's arrival, they heaved a sigh of relief. They thought that their savior had arrived. Elder Zhou is here. This brat is dead meat. Zhang Taiching's face was filled with joy. He was finally going to avenge his broken arm. Within the Earth Fiend sect, Elder Zhou was an existence that he could only look up to. When Yi Hao felt the powerful aura approaching, he did not panic. Instead, he was overjoyed, not because of anything else, but because he could sense the Earth Fiend Black Qi from Elder Zhou's aura. This meant that he had come to the right place. Furthermore, he was very familiar with the Earth Fiend Black Qi. After all, the Purple Sky's Supreme God Emperor and the others had fallen into a coma because of the Earth Fiend Black Qi. Just then, Elder Zhou appeared in front of everyone. He was a middle-aged man with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. He exuded a powerful aura without being angry. When everyone saw this person, they all bowed respectfully. Even Zhang Taiching was no exception. "Greetings, Elder Zhou." At that moment, everyone bowed respectfully. Even Zhang Zihao was stunned by this aura and stood there in a daze. Zhang Taichung quickly pulled him back and bowed. However, this middle-aged man's status in the Earth Fiend sect was definitely not ordinary. However, there was an exception. Yi Hao stood in his original position. His expression did not change as he sized up the middle-aged man. When the crowd saw this, they all shouted in anger. "Bastard! Kneel down and beg for mercy when you see Elder Zhou. If you kneel down and beg for mercy now, Elder Zhou might leave you with an intact corpse. A brat who overestimates himself dares to barge into the Earth Fiend sect. Now, he even dares to be so rude to Elder Zhou. He is too presumptuous. If you don't beg for mercy now, you won't even have the chance to kneel down and beg for mercy soon." Although the crowd was initially stunned by Yi Hao's domineering killing of the 9 disciples, they all felt that Elder Zhou had a backbone. However, when Elder Zhou appeared, everyone couldn't help but feel that they had a backbone. Every one of them once again became arrogant, no longer fearing Yi Hao. After all, Elder Zhou was a martial artist of the spiritual martial realm. No matter how powerful Yi Hao was, he could not defeat Elder Zhou. Elder Zhou looked at the corpses on the ground, and his face darkened. Anger burned in his heart as he glared at Yi Hao. "Who are you? Do you know that even God can't save you when you barge into the Earth Fiend sect? You talk too much. I just want to know where the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave is." Yi Hao acted as if he did not see Elder Zhou's anger and asked him directly. Obviously, Yi Hao did not believe Zhang Tiecheng's words at all. He had captured Zhang Taichung so that Zhang Taichung could lead the way obediently. When everyone heard Yi Hao's words, their faces changed. Chapter 1201. Elder Zhou. The situation is like this. Zhang Taichung immediately went to Elder Zhou's side and said. Elder Zhou's face darkened even more as he recounted the events that had transpired. Elder Zhou's face darkened even more. Obviously, Elder Zhou believed Zhang Tiecheng's words. After all, first impressions were the strongest. Yi Hao had given him a bad first impression. Yi Hao had barged in and killed so many Earth Fiend sect disciples. This was definitely a dead end. Therefore, regardless of whether Zhang Taichung was telling the truth or not, he had to kill Yi Hao. Zhang Taichung did not lie to you. The Earth Fiend sect does have the antidote for the Earth Fiend black gas, and we do need to go to the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave to look for it. However, you will not have the chance to do so. Elder Zhou looked at Yi Hao as though he was looking at a dead man. This was because Yi Hao was already a dead man in his eyes. Therefore, he spoke the truth. The Earth Fiend black gas did exist in the Earth Fiend sect, and the core members were all cultivating the Earth Fiend black gas. This was because the cultivation of the Earth Fiend black gas would allow their cultivation speed to become faster. When the Earth Fiend black gas entered the opponent's body, it would turn into a type of poison. This type of poison was very difficult to remove. No healing or antidote pills would be effective. However, the Earth Fiend sect did not have the antidote for this type of Earth Fiend black gas. Unless one went to the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave to search for it, one would not be able to find it. When Zhang Taichung heard Elder Zhou's words, his face changed again. He didn't think that the reason he casually made up in order to deceive Yi Hao would actually be correct. He only knew that the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave was a forbidden area in the Earth Fiend sect. As for the antidote for the Earth Fiend black gas, he really did not know where to find it. However, he did not expect that the antidote for the Earth Fiend black gas would really be in the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave. "You dog, you can rest in peace now." Elder Zhou knew Yi Hao's motive and could not be bothered to waste his breath on Yi Hao. Since Yi Hao dared to barge into the Earth Emanation sect, he had to kill Yi Hao to answer to the entire sect. At the same time, he had to tell the outside world that anyone who barged into the Earth Emanation sect would not have a good ending. As soon as Elder Zhou finished speaking, he struck out with a backhand palm at Yi Hao. It was obvious that Elder Zhou did not think much of Yi Hao. He looked down on Yi Hao. Otherwise, he would have used his weapon. Yi Hao looked at Elder Zhou. He knew that he was no match for Elder Zhou, but he stood there with no intention of making a move. There was no trace of panic or fear on his face. This made everyone very puzzled. Why is this kid standing there without moving? Could it be that he was intimidated by Elder Zhou's strength? Who cares if he moves or not? He's no match for Elder Zhou anyway. If he just stands there and doesn't move, he'll die a quick death. I reckon that kid has given up on resisting. Everyone looked at Yi Hao and thought that Yi Hao had given up on resisting. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Let's see how arrogant you can be now. Zhang Zihao looked at Yi Hao and laughed disdainfully. It's too easy for that bastard to die like this. He should be torn into pieces to appease the hatred in my heart, Zhang Taichung said regretfully. However, he still had a cold smile on his face. Whoever dares to hurt my lord will have to go through me, Su Lai. At that moment, a young man holding a long sword appeared and charged towards Elder Zhou. When Yi Hao saw Su Lai appear, a smile appeared on his face. This was because Su Lai was the elite at the peak of the spiritual martial realm that he had summoned. However, Su Lai had obeyed his orders and had been hiding in the dark. He had only come out at this critical moment. It was precisely because of Su Lai's presence that he was able to stand there fearlessly. As for Su Lai, Yi Hao had some understanding of him. Su Lai's courtesy name was Ding Fong. He was a fierce general during the Sui and Tang dynasties. He was brave and good at fighting. He had defeated the Eastern Turks, annihilated the Western Turks, suppressed the Tsong Ling rebellion, destroyed Beech, attacked Goguryeo, and stabilized Tibet. He had single-handedly destroyed 3 countries and captured their masters alive. He had helped the Tang dynasty expand its territory by thousands of miles. He had made outstanding contributions and was even listed in the Lingyan Pavilion. This was definitely a symbol of status and honor in the Tang dynasty. However, in the Sui and Tang dynasties and the Tang dynasty's Chuanjuan, Su Dingfang was the one who had been blackened the most. He could be said to be a complete villain. Therefore, when Yi Hao watched television in the past, he had often complained about Su Lai. Yi Hao had never expected that he would summon Su Lai one day. Where did this reckless kid come from? Elder Zhou looked at Su Lai, who had suddenly appeared in front of him, and snorted disdainfully. I didn't expect that there would be so many people courting death today. This kid doesn't look old. How old can he be? Isn't he courting death by blocking Elder Zhou now? However, this kid seems to be in cahoots with that kid. They're just a bunch of people courting death. When the crowd saw Su Lai, who had suddenly appeared, they were also stunned. Then, their faces were filled with disdain. That was because they saw that Yi Hao and Su Lai were about the same age. At most, Su Lai's strength was about the same as Yi Hao's. He would definitely not be a match for Elder Zhou. All right, killing one is still killing. Killing a pair is still killing. After Elder Zhou finished speaking, he directly attacked Su Lai. Die! Su Lai roared. The long sword in his hand pierced forward. Hee, this kid actually dares to retaliate in front of Elder Zhou. When the crowd saw Su Lai's actions, they laughed disdainfully again. However, the next scene froze everyone's sneers on their faces. That was because the long sword in Su Lai's hand pierced through Elder Zhou's arm easily. How is this possible? Everyone cried out in surprise when they saw this scene. Could it be that Elder Zhou was careless? This kid can't possibly be a match for Elder Zhou. I think so. Otherwise, how could this kid injure Elder Zhou? At this moment, Elder Zhou's right arm was completely crippled. Fresh blood gushed out like a fountain. Ah, you bastard, you are courting death. Elder Zhou roared out in pain. One had to know that he had never been so severely injured before. He was originally confident that he could shatter Su Lai's weapon and injure him severely at the same time. However, he did not expect Su Lai's long sword to be so powerful. It actually dodged his palm and pierced through his arm at the same time. This made him extremely angry. Elder Zhou's aura suddenly surged. Strong spiritual energy gushed out from his body. A weapon appeared in Elder Zhou's left hand. Elder Zhou endured the immense pain and attacked Su Lai. However, who would have thought that Su Lai would easily dodge Elder Zhou's attack? At the same time, the long sword in his hand struck again. In an instant, Elder Zhou's left arm was crippled. Ping ping. Elder Zhou's arm was chopped off. The weapon in his hand fell to the ground with a crisp sound. Chapter 1202. No one could understand why Elder Zhou, who was so strong in their eyes, was like a god of war. How could he not be a match for Su Lai? Su Lai had crippled his arms in just 2 moves. The first time, Elder Zhou's right arm had been crippled by Su Lai because he had been careless. But the second time, it couldn't be said that Elder Zhou had been careless too. They had seen how Elder Zhou had unleashed all of his power just now. That terrifying amount of spiritual qi was enough to instantly kill them, without a doubt. That proved that Elder Zhou had really used his full strength and hadn't held back. But even so, Su Lai had easily chopped off his arms. That could only mean that Su Lai was too strong. He was so strong that even Elder Zhou, who had used his full strength, couldn't fight back in front of Su Lai. Although the crowd didn't want to admit it, Su Lai looked so young and his strength had surpassed Elder Zhou, who was at rank 2 spiritual martial realm. Elder Zhou's arms had been crippled and his body was covered in blood. He looked like he was in a sorry state. Everyone felt that it was too unrealistic. Dying. Yi Hao looked at Elder Zhou. Elder Zhou was a strong cultivator of the spiritual martial realm. He must have had a lot of experience. So, he didn't show any mercy. He raised the weapon in his hand and charged towards Elder Zhou. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. Elder Zhou's arms had been crippled. His face turned pale and his face became ferocious. Especially when he saw that Yi Hao wanted to kill him. He was even more furious. Although his arms had been crippled, his strength was still not to be underestimated. He could still easily kill an Atman body realm cultivator. Therefore, with a single thought, Elder Zhou's spirit qi gushed out of his body and gathered in it thousands of swords, ready to attack Yi Hao. But Su Lai wouldn't let him have his way. He snorted coldly, and his aura crushed Elder Zhou. Elder Zhou's thousands of swords couldn't withstand a single blow. They instantly dissipated into spiritual qi and disappeared into the air. At that moment, the crowd realized that Elder Zhou's strength was worlds apart from Su Lai's. The difference was too great. Actually, the crowd didn't know Su Lai's cultivation level. Su Lai was at the peak of the Ling Qi layer, and Elder Zhou was only at the second level of the Ling Qi layer. Therefore, the difference in strength between Elder Zhou and Su Lai was naturally huge. At this moment, Elder Zhou's face was ashen. His heart was filled with unwillingness. He did not expect that he would not even have the chance to make a move in front of Su Lai. At the same time, the blade in Yi Hao's hand pierced his chest. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for killing a rank 2 spirit martial realm warrior. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 2 million experience points. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a spirit martial realm level up pill. Elder Zhou looked unwillingly at the knife in his chest. At this moment, Yi Hao heard the sound of the system notification in his mind. Ding dong, congratulations to host for leveling up. Host is currently at 3rd Order Devil Emperor. I actually broke through. Yi Hao was overjoyed when he heard the system notification. When everyone saw this scene, they were all stunned on the spot. This was because the people they looked up to, the people they worshipped, had actually been killed at this moment. Moreover, from the beginning to the end, Yi Hao and Su Lai were not hurt at all. This made them doubt their lives. Everyone's hearts were filled with fear and helplessness. This was especially so for the Zhang father and son. When they saw Elder Zhou appear, they were still full of pride. However, at this moment, the two of them were ashen. Especially when they saw Yi Hao walking towards them with a cold expression, they were even more terrified. I know I was wrong. Don't kill me. Young master, please spare my life. The Zhang father and son looked at Yi Hao and kept begging for mercy. Where's the earthly fiend Sky Demon Cave? Yi Hao looked at Zhang Taiching and asked coldly, Young master, please follow me. Zhang Taiching hurriedly said nervously. This time, he did not dare to lie. Even a terrifying existence like Elder Zhou was easily killed in front of Yi Hao. Then what did he count as? Yi Hao gestured to Su Lai. Su Lai directly picked up Zhang Zihao, and a few of them followed behind Zhang Taiching. Everyone in the Earthly Fiend sect watched as Yi Hao headed towards the Earthly Fiend Sky Demon Cave. but no one dared to open their mouths to stop him. Before long, Zhang Taichung brought Yi Hao to the periphery of the earthly fiend sect and arrived at the foot of a desolate mountain. Before approaching this mountain, they did not discover anything unusual. But the moment they approached, they could see that this mountain was somewhat different, because the mountain was actually constantly emitting some fine black gas faintly. However, it was clear that there was some array formation on this mountain that could suppress the emitting of this black gas. And just as they approached this earthly fiend sky demon cave, Yi Hao's body actually had some slight agitation. Looking at the earthly fiend sky demon cave before them, Zhang Taichung hurriedly said respectfully to Yi Hao, "Young master, this is the earthly fiend sky demon cave. Let's go. Let's go in." After Yi Hao finished speaking, he walked in directly with Su Lai. Seeing Yi Hao and Su Lai leave, Zhang Taichung and Zhang Zihao heaved a heavy sigh of relief. Phew! One must know that the two of them had been on tenterhooks ever since they saw Elder Zhou die. They were afraid that Yi Hao would kill them. Fortunately, now that they saw Yi Hao and Su Lai enter the earthly fiend sky demon cave, their lives were considered saved. And it was also at this moment that a few powerful forces attacked rapidly. The Zhang father and son hurriedly turned their heads to look. They only saw 5 people appear before them. Among them, there were 3 middle-aged men, an old man, and a woman. These few people all exuded a terrifying aura that did not lose to Elder Zhou's aura. Seeing these few people, Zhang Taichung was instantly shocked. His face was filled with astonishment. He had not expected that these few people would actually appear at the same time. One must know that these few people's identities were not inferior to Elder Zhou's. One of them was the sect leader of the Earthly Fiend sect, while the other 4 were the Grand Elders of the Earthly Fiend sect. They were all above Elder Zhou. These were the top experts of the Earthly Fiend sect. Each of them was an expert of the spiritual martial realm. They were the strong support of the Earthly Fiend sect. Usually, to be able to see any one of these 5 people was harder than ascending to the heavens. And now that the 5 of them had actually appeared here, it was obvious that they were here for Yi Hao. Therefore, when he saw the 5 of them, Zhang Taichung's heart was filled with nervousness. After all, they were important figures of the Earthly Fiend sect. Greetings, Lord Sect Leader. Greetings, Lord 4 Grand Elders. Zhang Taichung looked at the 5 of them and hurriedly bowed. When Zhang Zihao saw his father bowing, he also hurriedly bowed. Chapter 1203. Reporting to the 1st Grand Elder, those 2 people have entered the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave. Hearing the old man's question, Zhang Taichung hurriedly said, "Haha, I didn't expect that there would be people seeking their own deaths." When the old man heard Zhang Taichung's words, he couldn't help but mock. Hearing the 1st Grand Elder's words, Zhang Taichung was clearly stunned, not understanding what he meant. You don't know, the reason why this Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave is called a forbidden area is because it is filled with danger. Even if it is a spirit realm expert or an expert of a higher realm, if they enter, they will die without a doubt. Seeing Zhang Taichung's puzzled expression, a middle-aged man opened his mouth to explain. This Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave is really so terrifying. Hearing the middle-aged man's words, Zhang Taichung couldn't help but be shocked. Although he knew that this Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave was a forbidden area of the Earth Fiend sect, he didn't know that it was actually so dangerous. Even a spirit realm expert would die without a doubt if they entered. How terrifying was that? It's really too easy for that dog. He died in the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave, just like that. I originally wanted to capture him and tear him into pieces. A middle-aged man said with some regret. Clearly, from his point of view, Yi Hao would definitely die if he entered the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave. All right, let's all go back. The 1st Grand Elder took one last look at the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave and said to everyone, because the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave was incomparably terrifying. Even though he was a rank 8 spirit realm expert, he similarly didn't know what was inside the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave. Of course, they had sent countless people into the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave, but they had basically all died inside. And the only person who came out of the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave was the Earth Fiend Sex ancestor. His cultivation was at the peak of the spirit realm. When the ancestor came out, he only brought an incomplete cultivation technique. However, before the ancestor could say what was inside the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave, he had already died from his serious injuries. From then on, the Earth Fiend sect regarded the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave as a forbidden area of the Earth Fiend sect. After all, even a peak spirit realm expert would die if they entered. Who would dare to enter? But later on, they studied the incomplete cultivation technique that Ancestor brought out. They discovered that after cultivating, they could actually produce black chi in their bodies. This black chi could increase the speed of their cultivation. Their strength would also be much stronger than people of the same cultivation level. Therefore, this incomplete cultivation method was treated as a treasure by them. At the same time, they also knew that although this cultivation method was incomplete, it was still extremely heaven-defying. In order to avoid being targeted by people with ulterior motives, they only gave this cultivation art to the core members of the Earth Fiend sect to cultivate. These core members were naturally extremely loyal to the Earth Fiend sect. Only the people in the Earth Fiend sect knew the secret behind this incomplete technique. Therefore, returning to the main topic, the way they saw it, Yi Hao and Su Lai entering the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Devil Cave, it was definitely impossible for them to come out again. Why is it so dark? After Yi Hao and Su Lai entered the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Devil Cave, they felt that it was very dark. They could only see tens of meters in front of them. It had to be known that at his level of cultivation, he could already see through the night. Although he couldn't use his spiritual awareness like a spiritual venerable, he still couldn't see through the night. However, with just the naked eye, one could clearly see things within a radius of several kilometers. My lord, there is something strange about this cave. There is black chi everywhere. This black chi is actually attacking me, trying to invade my body. Just then, Su Lai spoke up. It seems like it is because of the Earthly Fiend black chi. Hearing Su Lai's words, Yi Hao spoke up. At that moment, Yi Hao's face was also solemn. This was because he also felt that the Earthly Fiend black chi was attacking him. He could only use his spirit energy to protect his body and block the Earthly Fiend black chi from attacking him. However, the Earthly Fiend black chi seemed to be endless, constantly depleting his spirit energy. Moreover, the deeper they went, the thicker the Earthly Fiend black chi became. The depleting of his spirit energy also became faster and faster. If his spirit energy was depleted and the Earthly Fiend black chi invaded his body, he would be in danger. My lord, my spirit energy is very dense. Come closer to me, and I will help you block the invasion of this black chi, Su Lai said. When Yi Hao heard Su Lai's words, he did not reject and directly went closer to Su Lai. It was only when Su Lai's spirit energy protected his body that Yi Hao retracted his spirit energy. However, Yi Hao was still very worried. This was because he did not know what the specific antidote to the Earthly Fiend black chi was. The Earthly Fiend Heaven Demon cave in front of him seemed to be extremely deep. He did not know when he would reach the end. He did not know if the spirit energy in Su Lai's body could last until he found the antidote to the Earthly Fiend black chi. Just as Yi Hao was worried, an array pattern suddenly appeared in Yi Hao's eyes. Then a black shadow shot out. It's the Heavenly Een Spirit. When Yi Hao saw the appearance of the Heavenly Een Spirit, he was also a little surprised. One must know that the Heavenly Een Spirit had not moved in his body for a long time. Moreover, because the Heavenly Een Spirit's cultivation level was too low, it could not help him at all. Therefore, Yi Hao did not summon the Heavenly Een Spirit. Master, this black chi can increase my strength. Suddenly, a voice sounded in Yi Hao's mind. Yi Hao knew that this voice came from the Heavenly Een Spirit. This was because the Heavenly Een Spirit had already developed spiritual intelligence. It can increase your cultivation level. When Yi Hao heard the heavenly Yin Spirit's words, he was instantly delighted. One must know that he had not found a way to increase the heavenly Yin Spirit's cultivation level all this time. Although the heavenly Yin Spirit was in his body, its cultivation level had been slowly increasing. However, the heavenly Yin Spirit's cultivation level was only at level 10 demon honorable. It was even lower than his own cultivation level. What he did not expect was that the earthly fiend Black Qi could actually increase the heavenly Yin Spirit's cultivation level. This made him instantly delighted. Master, can I absorb this Black Qi? The heavenly Yin Spirit asked Yi Hao carefully. Yi Hao could already tell from the heavenly Yin Spirit's tone that the heavenly Yin Spirit was really envious of the earthly fiend Black Qi. Hurry up and absorb it. When Yi Hao heard the heavenly Yin Spirit's question, he hurriedly said, after all, until now, he was still worried about how to withstand the earthly fiend Black Qi when his spiritual energy was depleted. Now that the heavenly Yin Spirit could actually absorb it to increase its cultivation level, he naturally would not reject it. I wonder how much this little fellow can absorb. Yi Hao looked at the heavenly Yin Spirit and could not help but hope that the heavenly Yin Spirit could absorb more of the earthly fiend Black Qi. This way, it could reduce the pressure on him. Yi Hao even wondered if he should leave the heavenly Yin Spirit in the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave to cultivate. However, in the next second, his thoughts changed because a shocking scene appeared. Chapter 1204. What is this? Even Su Lai was shocked at this moment. He looked at the scene in front of him in shock. After all, even he was afraid of the earth fiend Black Qi. However, the heavenly Yin Spirit was like a bottomless pit as it absorbed the earth fiend Black Qi. In just a few breaths, the earth fiend Black Qi within a few meters was completely absorbed. Yi Hao was also stunned as he looked at the heavenly Yin Spirit. He saw that the heavenly Yin Spirit's cultivation had broken through from the 10th Order Demon Venerable to the 1st Order Demon Emperor. The speed of the heavenly Yin Spirit's cultivation was like a rocket. Even he was a little envious of the heavenly Yin Spirit. What was the difference between this method of cultivation and drinking water? So satisfying. After the heavenly Yin Spirit finished absorbing the earth fiend Black Qi, it continued to rush in. As long as the heavenly Yin Spirit passed by, the earth fiend Black Qi would enter its body crazily. It seems like I have underestimated it. Yi Hao looked at the heavenly Yin Spirit's speed of absorbing the earth fiend Black Qi and couldn't help but exclaim. To think that he wanted to leave the heavenly Yin Spirit here to cultivate. Now, it seemed like there was no need at all. The heavenly Yin Spirit was like a bottomless pit as it continued to absorb the earth fiend Black Qi crazily. The heavenly Yin Spirit's cultivation was also increasing crazily. 2nd Order Demon Emperor. 3rd Order Demon Emperor. 4th Order Demon Emperor. The heavenly Yin Spirit continued to absorb the earth fiend Black Qi, and its cultivation continued to increase. What kind of monster is this? Su Lai looked at the heavenly Yin Spirit in shock. Seeing the heavenly Yin Spirit continuously absorbing the earth fiend Black Qi and increasing its cultivation without refining it, Su Lai couldn't help but exclaim. Yi Hao and Su Lai followed behind the heavenly Yin Spirit as they went deeper and deeper. However, at this moment, they didn't need to release spiritual energy to resist the earth fiend Black Qi, because as long as they followed behind the heavenly Yin Spirit, all the earthly fiend Black Qi would be absorbed by the heavenly Yin Spirit wherever it went. After a long time, there wasn't any earth fiend Black Qi behind Yi Hao. Instead, the earth fiend Black Qi in front of them was as thick as ink. The heavenly Yin Spirit was like a sponge, greedily absorbing the earth fiend Black Qi. At this moment, the heavenly Yin Spirit's cultivation was extremely terrifying. It had already reached the 10th Order Demon Emperor realm. It was just one step away from the Atman body realm. One had to know that when a heavenly Yin Spirit reached the Atman body level, it would be extremely terrifying. This was because the heavenly Yin Spirit could summon heavenly een beasts. The cultivation of the heavenly een war beast was the same as the heavenly een spirit. Thus, raising the battle prowess of the heavenly een spirit was equivalent to having a large group of experts under his command. It was also at this time that the heavenly een spirit's cultivation increased again, reaching the first-level spirit body. Yi Hao couldn't help but curl his lips in envy when he saw this leveling speed. Fortunately, the spirit of heavenly een was his subordinate. If it was his enemy, it would be too terrifying. As for Su Lai, he was completely dumbfounded as he looked at the heavenly een spirit. He could not stop calling it abnormal. Time passed by minute. Yi Hao roughly estimated that at least 2 to 3 days had passed. One had to know that their speed was already not slow. After all, the heavenly een spirit's speed of absorbing the earth fiend Black Chi did not slow down at all. One could see how deep the earth fiend heavenly demon cave was if they could walk for 2 to 3 days. Yi Hao did not doubt that if they only relied on Su Lai and his spiritual power, they would not be able to reach here. Of course, along the way, he also saw many pitch-black human bones. One could imagine how terrifying the earth fiend Black Chi was. It could even corrode human bones and turn them black. Yi Hao also found some spatial rings from these people. At the same time, he understood that these people were people who had entered the earth fiend heavenly demon cave in the past to search for treasures but died inside. Moreover, these people's cultivation was not low. Yi Hao saw that one of the people's notes was actually at the 7th level spiritual martial realm. This terrifying cultivation was not much inferior to Su Lai's. Therefore, this earth fiend heavenly demon cave was really not a place that ordinary people could enter. If not for relying on the heavenly een spirit, one to enter this earth fiend heavenly demon cave would be difficult without the cultivation of a spiritual venerable. What made Yi Hao feel strange was that in this earth fiend heavenly demon cave, there seemed to be nothing else other than the earth fiend Black Chi. But since they came here, Yi Hao naturally had to go all the way. Moreover, this earth fiend heavenly demon cave could even raise the cultivation of the heavenly een spirit. It was not considered to be without gains, but he was still a little nervous in his heart. After all, if there was no antidote for the earth fiend Black Chi here, then he really did not know what to do. And Yi Hao was also very curious about what exactly was in this earth fiend heavenly demon cave to be able to continuously produce the earth fiend Black Chi. Looking at the heavenly een spirit in front of him, to be honest, Yi Hao was a little envious. These 2 to 3 days, the heavenly een spirit had been absorbing the earth fiend Black Chi continuously. This caused the heavenly een spirit's cultivation to directly reach the 7th level spiritual martial realm. This already far surpassed him, and was even catching up to Su Lai's cultivation. As long as the heavenly een spirit increased another 3 levels, it would be able to catch up to Su Lai. Yi Hao looked at the earth fiend Black Chi in front of him and felt that it would not be too difficult for the heavenly een spirit to raise its cultivation to the peak of the spiritual martial realm. If this was spread out and people knew about it, they would definitely be scared to death. After all, 2 to 3 days ago, the heavenly een spirit's cultivation was only at the 10th level demon honorable. But now, it had reached the 7th level spiritual martial realm. This was practically crossing 3 major realms, 27 minor realms. Just how many people in the ancient demon realm could do this? The key was that the heavenly een spirit's cultivation was still constantly increasing. Another half a day passed, and the heavenly een spirit's cultivation broke through again, reaching the 8th level spiritual martial realm. And at this moment, outside the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave, some experts from the Earth Fiend sect, including the Zhang family's father and son, appeared at the entrance of the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave. At this moment, everyone looked at the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave with a puzzled expression. That's strange. Logically speaking, the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave should be overflowing with more and more black chi. Why is it becoming less and less? Could it be because those 2 people entered the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave? That's absolutely impossible. According to the sect's records, That old ancestor who was at the 8th level spiritual martial realm entered the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave for just over a day before coming out. He was even heavily injured and died. Those two people have already entered the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave for 4 to 5 days. I reckon that they've already died inside. That's true. But this Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave suddenly changed. It's really strange. Should we send people in to check? Chapter 1205. One must know that the Earth Fiend sex ban forbade anyone from entering the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave. Although the ban didn't have any effect on people of their status, each and every one of them cherished their lives. At the same time, they were also curious about what was in the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave. However, the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave had always been emitting black gas. It was extremely difficult for them to enter the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave. But now that the black gas in the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave had decreased, it was definitely a good opportunity to enter. Why don't we send some disciples who aren't talented to check it out first? The only beautiful lady suggested when she saw that everyone was silent. No need. A middle-aged man waved his hand and looked at the Zhang father and son. When the Zhang father and son saw the middle-aged man's gaze, they were shocked. Zhang Taiching knew that the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave was a place where even spirit martial realm experts would be dangerous. He was only at the Atman body realm. How would he dare to enter the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave? Therefore, Zhang Taiching quickly begged for mercy. No. Third Supreme Elder. Hearing Zhang Taiching's words, the middle-aged man looked at Zhang Taiching unhappily. Why? You wanted to defy my order? I dare not. Feeling the strong pressure from the middle-aged man, Zhang Taiching said hurriedly. Zhang Taiching looked at the others as if he was asking for help. No one was willing to say anything for him. Sect Master, Supreme Elder, let me enter the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave alone. My son shouldn't enter. Zhang Taiching knew that he had to enter the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave today. If he entered, he might lose his life at any time. He didn't want both father and son to die in the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave. Therefore, he begged. After all, the way he saw it, entering the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Devil Cave was completely a life of certain death. He only had this one son. If the two of them entered the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave together, he would have no more descendants. Therefore, even if he died, he had to protect his son. To be honest, he was already unhappy with the Earth Fiend sect. No matter what, he had worked hard for the Earth Fiend sect for so many years. Now, the Earth Fiend sect was treating him like this. He couldn't help but look at his son with a glint in his eyes. What if his son had a relationship with that person? At that time, he could take revenge for himself and the Earth Fiend sect as well. However, at this moment, he still had to protect Zhang Zihao. Therefore, he directly knelt down in front of them. As you wish. Don't worry. Your son has already become an external disciple of the Earth Fiend sect. He will be heavily groomed by the sect. That middle-aged third elder immediately said. However, no matter how one listened to it, one could tell from the tone of the high Supreme Third Elder that he was giving alms. Thank you, Supreme Third Elder. Zhang Taichung could only forcefully squeeze out a smile and express his gratitude, after which he gritted his teeth and stepped into the Earth Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave. Seeing his father enter the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Devil Cave, Zhang Zihao opened his mouth and looked at the crowd, but did not dare to speak. As everyone watched Zhang Taiching enter the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave, they could not help feeling nervous and expectant. My lord, could it be that there is no end to this cave? Su Lai, who was guarding beside Yi Hao, suddenly asked. That was because they had already walked in the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave for a total of 7 days. However, there was still only black gas in front of them, and they simply could not see the end. If it wasn't for the Heavenly Een Spirit absorbing the Earthly Fiend Heavenly Demon Cave, even if he was at the peak of the Spirit Martial Realm, he would probably collapse just by walking there. I don't know either, but I reckon that it will be soon. Yi Hao looked ahead and said uncertainly. Boom! Just then, the heavenly Een spirit's cultivation increased by another level. This is the first level spiritual supremacy realm. Sulai was also shocked by the aura of the heavenly Een spirit's breakthrough. Then, his face was filled with astonishment. At that moment, the heavenly Een spirit's breakthrough also meant that the heavenly Een spirit's cultivation had already surpassed his. One must know that a few days ago, the heavenly Een spirit was merely a demon supremacy that he could exterminate with a wave of his hand. However, at that very moment, he sensed a dangerous aura from the heavenly Een spirit's body. It actually reached the spiritual supremacy realm. Yihao's face lit up with joy when he saw the heavenly Een spirit's cultivation increase. The heavenly Een spirit's cultivation had reached the first level spiritual supremacy realm. This also meant that the heavenly Een spirit had leaped to become the most powerful person under him. This also meant that he also had a spiritual supremacy realm expert under him. At that moment, Yihao could not help but look forward to the longer the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave was, the better. After all, the longer the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave was, the more earthly fiend black gas there would be, and the higher the cultivation of the heavenly Een spirit would be. Lord, there seems to be someone following us from behind. Just then, Su Lai said softly. Don't bother about him, Yihao said as he shook his head. After all, the heavenly Een spirit's cultivation had already increased to the spiritual supremacy realm. He could do whatever he wanted in the earthly fiend sect, so why would he be bothered? Moreover, from the aura of the person behind them, he could tell that his cultivation was not high, even lower than his own. Even if he came over, he would be courting death. Hence, he did not care about such a small character. At that moment, Zhang Taichung, who was behind them, was extremely shocked. As he was afraid of Yihao and Su Lai, Zhang Taichung did not dare to go near them. Hence, he did not see the heavenly Een spirit clearly. He had already followed Yihao and Su Lai for a long time. He realized that wherever Yihao and Su Lai went, the earthly fiend black gas would completely disappear. He could not help but be curious. What kind of powerful technique was this that could actually make the earthly fiend black gas disappear? In his opinion, this was simply inconceivable. Although he did not have the qualifications to cultivate the earthly fiend black gas, he had seen it released by a core disciple before. Even he was extremely fearful of it. Hence, to him, the earthly fiend black gas was definitely something extremely terrifying. But now, it was all gone because of Yihao and Su Lai. How could he not be shocked? It should be known that those people outside the cave forced him to come in. It could be seen that even those people could not do anything about the black gas in the earthly fiend sky demon cave. Those were the top experts in the earthly fiend sect. One should know that the first Supreme Elder was a first-level spiritual supremacy realm expert. To him, no matter how powerful Su Lai was, he could not be as powerful as the first Supreme Elder. Could it be that they have a treasure that can restrain the earthly fiend black gas? Zhang Taichung guessed in his heart. Chapter 1206. Just as Yihao, Su Lai, and the heavenly Een spirit continued to advance step by step, the heavenly Een spirit shouted, "Who is it that is disturbing my slumber?" A low and hoarse voice came from behind the black earth fiend Shi, sounding like a demon from hell. That voice made one's hair stand on end. There are creatures here? Yihao was shocked when he heard the voice. My lord, I'm afraid there's danger inside, Su Lai said cautiously. The reason for that was because he was actually able to sense a dangerous aura from that voice. He could sense that the cultivation of the owner of the voice was not lower than his. When Yihao heard Su Lai's words, he could not help but frown. His face instantly turned serious. After all, Su Lai was at the peak of the spirit martial realm. For Su Lai to sense danger, it could be imagined that the owner of the voice was not simple. Master, he's just a little demon that's recovering. He's only a level 2 spiritual exalted realm cultivator. Once I've devoured all the earth malice black chi, I'll be able to defeat him easily. just as Yihao was worried about whether he should leave this place. The heavenly Een spirit said with a relaxed tone. From the tone of the heavenly Een spirit, it could be seen that the heavenly Een spirit was filled with disdain towards the owner of that voice. Hearing the heavenly Een spirit's words, Yihao heaved a sigh of relief. He believed that since the heavenly Een spirit dared to say such a thing, it meant that the heavenly Een spirit most definitely possessed the confidence to take care of the owner of that voice. Could it be that the rumors are true? When Zhang Taiching heard that voice just now, he felt as if he had fallen into a bottomless abyss. He was so scared that he almost wet his pants. At that moment, his expression turned extremely ugly. He suddenly recalled a legend. A long time ago, there was an extremely powerful ancient old demon who had been buried here. Therefore, this earth fiend heavenly demon cave was continuously overflowing with black qi. Of course, this was only a legend, and no one could prove it. After all, so many people who had entered the earthly fiend heavenly devil cave to investigate had all died in the earthly fiend heavenly devil cave. Later on, when the earth fiend sect was established here, even fewer people would enter this earth fiend heavenly demon cave. Therefore, no one knew what exactly was inside the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave. When he heard that voice, he had no choice but to admit that the rumors were true. There really was an ancient devil buried here, and for some reason, the old ancestor of that ancient devil was awakening. He had no doubt that if this old devil was allowed to leave, the world would be plunged into chaos. After all, those who could be called old demons were all bloodthirsty, vicious, and cruel people. At this moment, Zhang Taichung felt that his legs were no longer under his control. He didn't dare to go any deeper. He thought that Yi Hao and the others would be like him and wouldn't dare to go any deeper. But when he saw Yi Hao and the others continue to move forward as if nothing had happened, he couldn't help but be stunned. Are they really not afraid of death? Zhang Taichung couldn't help but wonder. Should I advance or retreat? Zhang Taichung hesitated for a moment. If he continued to move forward, it was very likely that he would be buried with Yi Hao. Dying at the hands of the old devil was something he clearly did not want. Therefore, after hesitating for a moment, Zhang Taichung still turned around and ran out of the cave. He believed that if he reported the news here to the many experts in the earthly fiend sect, they shouldn't make things difficult for him anymore. As he didn't need to be careful, he slowly followed behind Yi Hao. At this moment, Zhang Taichung used all his strength to run out of the cave. Therefore, his speed was also very fast. Before long, he arrived outside the cave. And at this moment, everyone was still guarding the entrance of the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave. Seeing that Zhang Taichung actually returned alive, their faces were all filled with surprise. Clearly, they did not expect that Zhang Taichung could actually return alive after entering the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave for several days. You actually really return alive. Are you all right? What exactly happened in the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave? Third highest elder looked at Zhang Taichung and hurriedly opened his mouth to ask. When Zhang Taichung heard third highest elder's words, he was clearly very displeased in his heart. Because when he heard third highest elder's words, it seemed like he shouldn't have returned alive. But with his status, he did not dare to provoke third highest elder. Therefore, he still recounted the matter from beginning to end respectfully. What did you say? Those two dog things actually didn't die yet and are still deep inside the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave. Those two dog things could actually make the earthly fiend black energy disappear. How is this possible? This is seriously inconceivable. Did you see how those two dog things did it? How is this possible? Inside this earthly fiend heavenly demon cave, there's actually really an old fiend. When everyone heard Zhang Taichung's words, each and every one of them was filled with astonishment, especially when they heard that Yi Hao and Su Lai were still not dead and could even make the earthly fiend heavenly demon black energy disappear. It made them unbelievably shocked. One had to know that they had always been filled with curiosity towards the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave. Therefore, they never stopped searching for ways to enter the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave. But inside the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave, that earthly fiend black energy was the greatest problem. Even if they searched for all sorts of ways, they ultimately did not find a way to restrain the earthly fiend black energy. But now, two people suddenly popped out and could make the earthly fiend black energy disappear. How could this not shock them? If it were any other time, when they learned of this news, they would definitely be overjoyed. After all, they could enter the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave and search for treasures. But at this moment, they could not feel happy because there was something even more shocking. What none of them had expected was that there was actually an ancient fiend in the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave. One had to know that even though they had never seen the ancient fiend before, according to some records, they knew that the ancient fiend was definitely a horrifying existence. Furthermore, once the ancient fiend was born, there would definitely be a massacre and blood would dye half the sky red. But of course, once the ancient fiend was born, whether or not he killed had nothing to do with them. What they were mainly worried about was whether it was right for the earthly fiend sect to be established beside the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave, and whether the earthly fiend sect should move. Otherwise, when the ancient fiend came out and massacred the earthly fiend sect, they would really not even have a place to cry. Did you see how the ancient fiend looked like? What cultivation realm did he recover to? That's right. Where did those two dog things go? Why are you the only one who came out? Are you sure that there's an ancient fiend in the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave? Everyone looked at Zhang Taicheng and asked one after another. Sect master and senior elders, I did not see the ancient fiend. However, just by hearing that voice, I felt as though I was dead. Chapter 12:07. Therefore, the old demon must be in the earthly fiend sky demon cave, and those two brats are still going deeper into the cave. Zhang Taicheng said to the crowd, those two bastards know that the old demon is in the earthly fiend sky demon cave, and they still dare to go deeper. Are they looking for death? Looks like those two bastards are really looking for death. Disturbing the old demon will only lead to their deaths. I just didn't expect the old demon to really be in the earthly fiend sky demon cave. Looks like we have to discuss this carefully. Everyone's face turned serious when they heard Zhang Taicheng's words. In their opinion, if the old demon was in the earthly fiend sky demon cave, then Yi Hao and Su Lai would definitely die. However, they had to think carefully for the earthly fiend sect. What they didn't know was that the old demon they feared was about to face a massacre. You damn things, get out of here. If you dare to go deeper, I'll make you wish you were dead. 3 days later, the old demon's voice sounded again. However, if one listened carefully, one could hear the nervousness and fear in the old demon's voice. One had to know that the old monster had spoken several times in the past 3 days. At first, he was full of disdain. However, as the heavenly Yin spirit's cultivation broke through to the second level of the spiritual supreme realm yesterday, the old demon sensed danger from the heavenly Yin spirit. Therefore, the old demon couldn't stay calm this time. He was completely panicking. He was an ancient old demon. Tens of thousands of years ago, he was the top existence in the ancient demon realm. Later, he was severely injured and fell into a deep sleep using a secret technique. He had been awake for decades, but his cultivation had only returned to the second level of the spiritual supreme realm. He still couldn't leave the earthly fiend sky demon cave, but he believed that it wouldn't take long for his cultivation to surpass the spiritual supreme realm. Then he could find a way to leave this place. By then, he would wash this place with blood and tell everyone that he, the earthly fiend demon emperor, was back. Originally, he believed that with the earthly fiend black chi in the earthly fiend sky demon cave, even peak spiritual supreme realm experts couldn't enter the earthly fiend sky demon cave. Therefore, he was extremely safe and could break through to the peak spiritual supreme realm in peace and leave this place. However, he didn't expect such a monstrous thing like the heavenly Yin spirit. Not only was he not afraid of the earth fiend black chi, he could even absorb it to increase his cultivation. Furthermore, he had absorbed it so quickly, and his cultivation had risen so quickly. This made him extremely envious and jealous. In his opinion, the speed at which he was recovering his cultivation was already extremely fast. He had already left the other geniuses far behind. But now, compared to the heavenly Ean spirit, it was even worse than dung. What kind of monster is this? At this moment, the old monster's heart was in complete chaos. I think we can talk about it. This time, the old monster's tone was unusually low as he spoke in a negotiating tone. Oomph. Yihao snorted in disdain after hearing the old monster's words. One had to know that the threat of Old Devil Three Heavens had never stopped. It's too late to be afraid now. Yihao naturally knew that he could not let such an old demon go. Of course, he was not a righteous Taoist who would exterminate demons for the sake of the world. However, he knew that the old devil was still trapped, and his cultivation was already at the second level of the supreme realm. If he let the old devil go and allowed him to recover, he would definitely seek revenge when he broke through. Yihao would not let a tiger go. Moreover, the old devil was the strongest boss that he had encountered so far. How could he let him go? If not for the old devil, the Earth Fiend sect would not exist. If not for the Earth Fiend sect, the King Kong would not have obtained the cultivation method of the Earth Fiend Black Chi by chance, and the Purple Sky Supreme God Emperor and the others would not have been tortured by the Earth Fiend Black Chi. Although he did not know how the Earth Fiend sect obtained the cultivation method of the Earth Fiend Black Chi, but he knew that it must have something to do with the old devil. Therefore, he naturally placed this grudge on the old devil. If the old devil knew what Yihao was thinking, he would probably vomit blood in anger. Master, you will see the old devil in 1,000 meters. At this moment, the heavenly Ean spirit's consciousness was transmitted to Yihao's mind. Can you still increase your cultivation? Yihao asked the heavenly Ean spirit. After all, the heavenly Ean spirit's cultivation was the same as the old devil's. They were both level 2 spiritual supremacy realm. If the heavenly Ean spirit's cultivation broke through another level, it would be easier to deal with the old devil. I don't know, but I should be able to, the heavenly Ean spirit said with uncertainty. Then continued to devour. Yihao became nervous when he heard the heavenly Ean spirit's words. However, he was still very confident in the heavenly Ean spirit. After all, the heavenly Ean spirit could easily crush those of the same level. Moreover, the old devil was still in the depths of the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave and had no intention of coming out. Yihao believed that the old devil must be under some kind of restriction and could not leave the depths of the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave. Although the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave was only 1,000 meters wide, the Earth Fiend Black Chi was getting thicker and thicker. The heavenly Ean spirit's absorption speed was also slowing down. Of course, this was only compared to the beginning. The absorption speed was slower after entering the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave. After all, the Earth Fiend Black Chi that had entered the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave at the beginning was not even 1% of this. Therefore, the heavenly Ean spirit's absorption speed of the Earth Fiend Black Chi was not slow at all. After a full day, the Earth Fiend Black Chi in the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave was completely absorbed by the heavenly Ean spirit. The group also arrived at the deepest part of the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave. Looking at the deepest part of the Earth Fiend Sky Demon Cave, what surprised Yihao was that this place was a little different from what he had imagined, because what entered his eyes was a circular pool. Although it was called a pool, it was the size of a football field. The water inside was also pitch black like ink and constantly emitted some black chi. If Yihao's guess was right, this pitch black like ink water was probably condensed from the Earth Fiend Black Chi. To be able to condense the Earth Fiend Black Chi into water, Yihao could not help but guess that there must be some kind of treasure here. And in this water, there were some lotus-like plants floating. What was surprising was that in this pitch black like ink water, these lotuses grew spotlessly white and flawless. Could it be that this is the antidote that can remove the Earth Fiend Black Chi? Yihao could not help guessing. Just as Yihao was about to use the system to check on those lotuses, a voice sounded out. "Kid, You're here for the antidote for the earth fiend Black Chi, right? Take this inverse fiend, Lotus, away. This old devil, I, will not haggle with you about the crime of trespassing here. Chapter 12:08. However, Yihao still checked the reverse evil lotus with the system before he felt relieved. Reverse evil lotus grows in the earth evil black gas. The reverse evil lotus can only be born in places with extremely dense earth evil black gas. The reverse evil lotus and the earth evil black gas mutually reinforce and neutralize each other. It can be used to neutralize the earth evil black gas. Phew, looks like the old demon didn't lie. Yihao heaved a sigh of relief after checking the reverse evil lotus. Then, Yihao looked at the center of the pool. There was a platform of a few square meters in the middle of the pool. There was a stone platform on the surface of the platform. There were some ancient runes engraved on the stone platform. There was a man standing on the stone platform, and he was glaring at Lin Fan. Yihao knew that this person was the old demon. He was dressed in black and exuded a terrifying aura. However, Yihao saw that the old demon had not left the stone platform at all. He could tell that the stone platform was restricting the old demon. Yihao looked at the heavenly Een spirit with pity in his eyes. The heavenly Een spirit's cultivation was still at level 2 spiritual supremacy realm. This meant that the heavenly Een spirit's cultivation was on par with the old demon's cultivation. Heavenly Een spirit, are you confident that you can kill him? Yihao asked the heavenly Een spirit. If the heavenly Een spirit was not confident that he could kill the old demon, he would not force himself to do it. He could also take the reverse evil lotus and find a suitable opportunity to kill the old demon. However, it was a pity that he would lose a lot of experience points. Yihao believed that if he could kill the old demon, he would be able to increase his cultivation. It will be easy to kill this little demon, the heavenly Een spirit said casually when he heard Yihao's question. How dare you call me a little demon? You must be tired of living. The old demon sensed danger from the heavenly Een spirit. However, when he heard that the heavenly Een spirit did not take him seriously, he was enraged. Tens of thousands of years ago, he could even kill a spirit emperor realm powerhouse with a wave of his hand, let alone a spirit supreme realm powerhouse. Even though his cultivation base had decreased tremendously, he was still not any weaker than the heavenly Een spirit. If not for the restriction of the formation on the altar, his plan would be ruined if he left the altar. Otherwise, he would have killed the heavenly Een spirit before it entered the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave. Kill him. Yihao did not expect that the old demon would still be so arrogant even when he was about to die. He immediately instructed the heavenly Een spirit. Yes, master. The heavenly Een spirit agreed excitedly when it heard Yihao's words. After all, the heavenly Een spirit was born to kill. Now that it could kill, it would naturally be excited. However, to everyone's surprise, the heavenly Een spirit did not directly charge towards the altar. Instead, it charged into the pool. Seeing this scene, the old monster was stunned at first, then he ruthlessly mocked. You're really courting death. One must know that this pool was filled with the purest earth fiend Black Chi. Even when he was at his peak, he did not dare to casually enter the pool. In his opinion, the heavenly Een spirit was only a second-level spiritual sovereign. There would be no other outcome for it if it entered the pool. It would definitely die. A mocking smile appeared on the old monster's face. However, in the next second, the smile on his face disappeared. That was because when the heavenly Een spirit entered the pool, it did not struggle and die as he had imagined. Instead, he saw the heavenly Een spirit's face filled with enjoyment, as if it was taking a bath. How is this possible? The old monster involuntarily exclaimed. Boom! After a moment, a ripple appeared on the surface of the pool. It actually broke through. Seeing the shocking scene before him, the old monster was so shocked that he was speechless. He could not help but think in his heart, what kind of monster is this? The old monster could not imagine that the heavenly Een spirit could actually break through. While the old monster was still in shock, several figures suddenly appeared around the altar. These voices were none other than the heavenly battle beasts. What the hell are these? The old monster looked at the heavenly battle beasts around the altar, and his face turned even uglier. Then, when he saw the cultivation levels of these heavenly battle beasts, his face turned even uglier, because he realized that the cultivation levels of these heavenly battle beasts had reached the third-level spiritual sovereign realm. Looking around, there were a total of 10 heavenly battle beasts. How could he not panic? You did it. Then the old monster looked at the heavenly spirit in the pool with shock. However, he did not receive a reply from the heavenly spirit. Instead, the 10 heavenly battle beasts attacked the altar together. What kind of monster is this? At this moment, Sulai was dumbfounded. Before he could recover from the shock of the heavenly spirit breaking through, he saw 10 third-level spiritual sovereign realm heavenly battle beasts. This made him even more shocked. Looking at the 10 sky battle beasts, any one of them would be able to kill him easily. Sulai could not help but rejoice that the heavenly spirit belonged to Yi Hao. If the heavenly spirit was a match for him, it would be too terrifying. Cool. When Yi Hao saw the heavenly spirit summoning the heavenly battle beasts, his face lit up with excitement. He was not surprised that the heavenly spirit could summon the heavenly battle beasts. However, it was different this time. The heavenly spirit had summoned 10 third-level spiritual sovereign realm heavenly battle beasts. Not to mention other things, just these 10 heavenly battle beasts alone were the most powerful subordinates that he had. It would be easy for him to use these 10 heavenly battle beasts to wipe out the Earth Slaughter sect. At this moment, the attacks of the 10 heavenly battle beasts had already landed on the altar. Boom! Suddenly, a light screen flashed on the altar. Obviously, there was still an array on the altar. The 10 heavenly battle beasts created a violent force and bombarded the light screen. However, it did not cause any damage to the array. Ha ha! If you want to kill me, you'd better think about breaking this array first. These 10 monsters are obviously not enough. When the old demon saw that the 10 heavenly battle beasts were unable to cause any damage to the array, he heaved a sigh of relief and sneered. My lord, it seems like it won't be easy to break this array. When Sulai saw the arrogant look on the old demon's face, he frowned and said, Just watch. Yi Hao had a relaxed expression on his face. This. When the old demon heard Yi Hao's words, he looked over again. Chapter 1209. Initially, there were only 10 heavenly beasts, but now there were 10 more heavenly beasts. All in all, there were a total of 20 lunar beasts. Most importantly, the cultivation of these 20 heavenly beasts was very powerful. They were all level 3 spiritual supremacy realm cultivators. This is terrifying. Sulai looked at the 20 heavenly beasts and then at the heavenly spirit in the pool. The shock in his eyes was indescribable. The old demon, who was originally arrogant, had an ugly expression on his face. After all, the sudden addition of 10 lunar beasts was not as simple as 1 plus 1. The combined power would definitely be multiplied by several times. What kind of monster is this? The old demon said in shock. One could imagine how powerful the heavenly spirit was for the old demon to call a monster. No. The old demon saw that the 20 heavenly beasts were going to attack together. He panicked and shouted, Boom! Gotcha! This time around, the 20 heavenly battle beasts joined forces and bombarded the formation with their terrifying power. The light screen of the array was instantly shattered. You're courting death. The old demon saw that the array was being destroyed. He did not dare to hesitate. Terrifying black gas surged out of his body, and he struck out with his palm. The palm strike was accompanied by a terrifying force that struck the bodies of the 2 lunar beasts at the front. The 2 heavenly beasts instantly retreated a few steps. The heavenly spirit in the pool saw that his subordinates were defeated by a small demon. This made him lose face in front of his master. The heavenly spirit was also enraged. It immediately ordered the remaining 18 heavenly battle beasts to attack in fear. Roar! The 18 heavenly beasts could sense the anger of the heavenly spirit. They roared and attacked the old demon together. The old demon's face was ugly. This altar restricted his freedom. Moreover, these heavenly beasts were very powerful and posed a great threat to him. After all, the cultivation of these heavenly beasts was on par with his. At most, he could deal with 2 or 3 heavenly beasts at the same time. If he were to face 18 of them at once, he would definitely be no match for them. Under normal circumstances, he should have fled from this place at this moment. But tens of thousands of years ago, there was a limit to the secret method he used. If he didn't break through to the spiritual venerable realm, even if he left this place, his cultivation would revert back until he died. Therefore, if he left this place, only death awaited him. He had no other choice but to risk his life against the 18 sky war beasts. Although there was no chance of victory, he had no other choice. Damn dog! The old monster cursed Yi Hao in his heart. However, he did not dare to stop attacking. He immediately circulated the earth fiend Black Chi and attacked the sky battle beast. However, this time around, there were a total of 18 heavenly battle beasts attacking together. No matter how strong he was, how could he possibly be a match for him? Although he had forced one of the sky battle beasts back a few steps, the attacks of a dozen sky battle beasts still landed on his body. Puff! The powerful attacks landed on his body and seriously injured him. He spat out a mouthful of black blood. Stop! I can pledge allegiance to you. Spare my life. The old monster hurriedly shouted at Yi Hao. Although he really didn't want to do this, his life was still more important at this moment. Moreover, he had planned this for tens of thousands of years. He didn't want to fail at the last step. Moreover, he could pretend to pledge allegiance to Yi Hao. When he had the chance, he could take revenge on Yi Hao. It was not impossible. With his strength, he thought that if he wanted to pledge allegiance to Yi Hao would definitely agree. However, when he heard Yi Hao's words, he was immediately dumbfounded. Now you're begging for mercy. What's the point of doing so earlier? Moreover, I don't want such an ugly subordinate. Yi Hao said disdainfully. He felt that it was useless to keep the old monster alive. It was not safe to keep the old monster alive. Who knew if the old monster was sincere about pledging allegiance to him? Moreover, even if he let the old monster go, the old monster wouldn't be able to serve him. After all, the old monster couldn't leave this place. It was obvious that this place was restricting him. So, instead of that, he might as well kill it and turn it into his own experience points. The old monster didn't expect Yi Hao to say such words. He was so angry that he almost spat out another mouthful of blood. Tens of thousands of years ago, he was the most powerful person in the world. His strength could intimidate the entire ancient demon realm. Everyone who faced him had to either pledge allegiance or die. He didn't expect that one day he would pledge allegiance to a piece of trash whose cultivation was only at the Demon Emperor realm. However, this piece of trash actually looked down on him. How would he accept this? If it weren't for the restriction of the altar, even if he had to risk his life, he would have crushed this ant that dared to look down on him. However, before he could vent his anger, Yi Hao said again, "Cripple him." After receiving Yi Hao's order, the 20 sky beasts didn't hesitate and rushed towards the old monster. The old monster wasn't a match for them in the first place. Now that he was seriously injured, he wasn't as strong as he was at the beginning. Therefore, the old monster could still fight back at the beginning. Later on, he didn't even have the chance to fight back. Not long after, the old monster's body was covered with wounds. He no longer had the strength to fight back. Bring him to me. To be honest, Yi Hao was still afraid of this pool. After all, he wasn't a sky spirit who could absorb the earth fiend Black Chi. Therefore, if he wanted to kill the old monster, he could only let the sky beast bring the old monster to him. No, don't. You dog, don't you dare. The old monster panicked when he heard Yi Hao's words, because if he left this altar, he would be done for. He wouldn't even have the chance to turn the tables. However, no one would care about his anger. In the eyes of the sky-ean beasts, he only heard the orders of the sky-ean spirit and Yi Hao. When the sky-ean beasts directly took the old monster away from the altar, the old monster's face turned ashen. He could feel that because he left the altar, he was starting to suffer the backlash of the secret technique. At that moment, the power in his body was no longer recovering. Instead, it was decreasing. This meant that even if Yi Hao didn't kill him, his cultivation would continue to decrease. Eventually, his cultivation would disappear and he would die. His tens of thousands of years of plan would be completely ruined. Chapter 12:10. The old demon was incomparably angry. At this moment, he wanted to perish together with Yi Hao. Therefore, the old demon wanted to frantically break free from the sky-ean beast's restraint. "Lord, be careful!" Sulai saw this scene and quickly shouted. Seeing the old demon desperately struggling, Yi Hao was not afraid at all and ordered the sky-ean beast, "Restrain him for me." If the old demon was struggling like this at the beginning, he might be afraid. But now, the old demon was seriously injured and his strength was less than 10%. There was no way he could be a match for the sky-ean beast. Therefore, the old demon wanted to break free from the sky-ean beast's restraint. It was completely wishful thinking. Yi Hao did not hold back. He took up his weapon and directly stabbed at the old demon. Because the old demon was restrained, the old demon did not have the strength to resist. Yi Hao's weapon directly pierced the old demon's chest. The old demon's face was filled with unwillingness, and his vitality was constantly dissipating. Even if you beat him to death, he did not expect that one day he would die in the hands of a trash demon emperor. One had to know that in the past, not to mention a mere demon emperor, he could even kill a spiritual supreme realm expert with a flick of his finger. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for killing a second-level spiritual supreme realm expert. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 2 million experience points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for killing a spiritual supreme realm expert for the first time. Experience points doubled. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for leveling up. In front of you is a 4th-level demon emperor. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for leveling up. In front of you is a 5th-level demon emperor. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for leveling up. In front of you is a 6th-level demon emperor. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for obtaining the Demon Dao Cultivation Method, Earth Fiend Black Chi Art. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for obtaining the Earth Fiend Pearl. For a moment, the system notification sound in Yi Hao's mind did not stop. To Yi Hao's surprise, his cultivation level had increased by 3 levels. One had to know that the current cultivation level required more and more experience points. Therefore, the older he was, the harder it was for him to break through. He had not directly broken through to the 3rd level like this in a long time. Then, Yi Hao looked at the items. The first item was the Old Devil's Top Cultivation Method. This old devil had once relied on this cultivation method to rise from an insignificant ant to one of the top experts in the ancient devil domain. That was completely related to this cultivation technique. From this, one could see how powerful this cultivation technique was. If it weren't for the system, perhaps even Yi Hao himself would be interested in this technique. However, with the system around, he didn't need any martial arts at all. Moreover, even the best martial arts were worthless in front of the system. Although the Earth Fiend Black Chi art was powerful, it was of no use to him. After thinking about it, Yi Hao put away the Earth Fiend Black Chi technique. Who knows, he might be able to use it in the future. After reading the Earth Fiend Black Aura Manual, Yi Hao looked at the Earth Fiend Pearl. This Earth Fiend Pearl was a pitch-black pearl. It was impossible to tell what material it was made of. Yi Hao immediately looked at his introduction. Earth Fiendish Pearl, Connate Cardinal Treasure. It was formed from Earth Fiendish Black Chi and formed a space of its own. In this space, cultivating the Earth Fiend Black Chi would increase the speed by several times, tens of times, or even hundreds of times. Moreover, those who control the Earth Fiend Pearl could use the Earth Fiend Black Chi even if they didn't cultivate it. When the Earth Fiend Pearl collected corpses, it would automatically produce Earth Fiend Black Chi. This is too powerful. After reading the Earth Fiend Pearl's introduction, Yihao's first thought was that he had picked up a treasure. He really didn't expect that the old devil would have such a treasure. However, after thinking about it carefully, he understood. After all, the old devil was the top expert in the entire ancient demon domain. How could he not have any treasures in his hands? Yihao took the Earth Fiend Pearl and didn't hesitate to drip his blood on it. This was originally the old devil's item. It was impossible to take it away from him. However, now that the old devil was dead, the Earth Fiend Pearl became an ownerless item again. Yihao dripped his blood on it and naturally had no problem. If some old monsters knew that the Earth Fiend Pearl, which countless people coveted tens of thousands of years ago, had reappeared in the world, countless people would fight over it. It was even possible that it would cause a war in the entire continent. One had to know that the reason why the old devil could rise so quickly tens of thousands of years ago was because of the Earth Fiend Black Chi art. The greatest contributor was the Earth Fiendish Pearl. At that time, the old devil relied on the Earth Fiend Pearl to cultivate the Earth Fiend army. That was enough to make the entire ancient demon domain tremble in fear. Of course, such a treasure naturally attracted the attention of countless people. The reason why the old devil ended up like this was because many experts joined forces to snatch the Earth Fiend Pearl. However, the old devil still managed to escape. At the same time, the Earth Fiend Pearl disappeared with the old devil. And this is? When Yihao sent his consciousness into the Earth Fiend Pearl to check the space inside, he was shocked. He originally thought that there was a terrifying Earth Fiend Black Chi in the Earth Fiend Pearl, but there wasn't. However, the amount of Earth Fiend Black Chi was hundreds of times more than the Earth Fiend Black Chi in the Earth Fiend Black Chi. However, as Yihao thought, he could still sense it. However, what shocked Yihao wasn't this. It was that there were people in the Earth Fiend Pearl. And it wasn't just one person, but close to 100 people. At this moment, the 100 or so people all had their eyes closed. They were like statues. Are these people alive or dead? Or dead? Seeing these people, Yihao didn't dare to be sure. However, Yihao could be sure that these people were all extremely powerful. The aura of each of them made him shudder with a single glance. One had to know that this was a feeling that even the heavenly Een spirit and the old devil couldn't give off. This meant that these people's cultivation levels were definitely above the spiritual supremacy realm. If the old devil was here, he would naturally know who these people were. These were the Earth Fiend army that he had cultivated to conquer the world for him. Who would have thought that the Earth Fiend army, which had terrorized the ancient demon domain, would be sealed in the Earth Fiend Pearl together with the old devil? After all, the old devil was severely injured at that time. Time was of the essence. Naturally, he couldn't take care of his subordinates who were still cultivating in the Earth Fiend Pearl. Yihao was very curious about whether these people were alive or dead. If these people were all alive, it would be too terrifying. They were old monsters who had lived for tens of thousands of years. If they had been cultivating in the Earth Fiend Pearl, how terrifying would their cultivation levels be? Yihao didn't dare to imagine it. Moreover, these people were in the Earth Fiend Pearl. They must have something to do with the old devil. If these people were still alive and knew that he had killed the old devil, how terrifying would that be? However, Yihao was glad that he was now the owner of the Earth Fiend Pearl. Without his orders, even if these people were alive, they wouldn't be able to come out. Chapter 12:11. When Yihao thought of this, he felt a little nervous. Then, he looked at the Sky Een beast. However, Yihao could not bear to lose a Sky Een beast of the spiritual honorable realm. Therefore, Yihao directly instructed the Sky Een beast, "Give me a Sky Een beast of any level. It doesn't have to be too strong." "Yes, master." The Sky Een spirit immediately agreed when it heard Yihao's words. A Sky Een beast of the Demon King realm appeared around the Sky Een spirit. This Sky Een beast was the beast of the lowest level that the Sky Een spirit could summon at the moment. The heavenly Een spirit was also unable to summon a heavenly Een beast of a lower cultivation level. When Yi Hao saw the sky Een beast in front of him, he nodded his head in satisfaction. Then, with a thought from Yi Hao, the sky Een beast appeared in the Earth Terminus Pearl. Yi Hao's consciousness was completely focused on the Earth Terminus Pearl, and he observed everything in the Earth Terminus Pearl. However, in the next second he was shocked, because the sky Een beast had not gotten close to the group of people. One of them suddenly opened his eyes and released a strong aura. He looked at the sky Een beast with a look of confusion. Under the pressure of this strong aura, the sky Een beast did not even have a chance to resist, and it was already lying on the ground. With a thought, Yi Hao was about to summon the sky Een beast. The person who opened his eyes seemed to know what Yi Hao was going to do. He focused his gaze, and the sky Een beast disappeared immediately. Yi Hao could feel that the sky Een beast had completely disappeared under his control. At this moment, Yi Hao felt that he was being watched. That kind of feeling made him shudder with fear. It was that gaze. Yi Hao did not dare to hesitate, and he immediately separated his consciousness from the Earth Terminus Pearl. Phew, it's too scary. Yi Hao's consciousness separated from the Earth Terminus Pearl, and that terrifying feeling disappeared. However, Yi Hao still felt a chill run down his spine. At this moment, his back was already soaked in cold sweat. To be honest, it had been a long time since he had felt this way. Yi Hao had no doubt that he would not be able to fight back if he was under that gaze. What he did not expect was that there was actually a living person in the Earth Terminus Pearl. One had to know that the Earth Fiendish Pearl had not appeared for tens of thousands of years. That meant to say that those people had been cultivating for tens of thousands of years within the Earth Fiendish Pearl. They were definitely a bunch of old monsters. This group of old monsters was definitely a group of ticking time bombs. Yi Hao looked at the Earth Fiend Pearl in his hand. That terrifying feeling involuntarily appeared in his mind. I wonder if it can be done this way. Yi Hao's eyes suddenly lit up as he thought of something. The Earth Terminus Black Chi in the Earth Terminus Pearl suddenly started to condense and appeared in a corner of the Earth Terminus Pearl. As for the rest of the area, there was no trace of the Earth Terminus Black Chi. It was as if the Earth Terminus Black Chi had all disappeared in an instant. At this moment, other than the person who opened his eyes at the beginning, the rest of the people in the Earth Fiendish Pearl also opened their eyes. All of them exuded a strong aura. However, some of them had anger in their eyes, while others had confusion in their eyes. This Earth Terminus Black Chi, why did it suddenly disappear? Could it be that Master has really been revived? Ha ha ha! If Master has been revived, then our Earth Emanations army will be able to shake the ancient demon's domain once again. That's right. I've been in this godforsaken place for so long. Although my cultivation has been increasing, I have long been bored out of my mind. I can't wait to get out. But why didn't Master summon us out? Instead, he took away all the Earth Terminus Black Chi. I guess Master needs to use the Earth Terminus Black Chi. At this moment, everyone was talking at once. Many of their faces were even filled with excitement. It's not Master. Just as everyone was getting excited, the person who opened his eyes at the beginning spoke up with a serious expression. What? It's not Master? Company leader, you're not joking, right? The Earth Terminus Pearl belongs to Master. Besides Master, who else can control it? Leader, don't scare us. Are you sure you're not joking? When everyone heard this person's words, their faces froze. One by one, they asked in shock. One had to know that the reason why they could persevere was because they did not cultivate for years. That was so that one day, the old demon would wake up and summon all of them out of the Earth Emanations sect to breathe the fresh air outside. The space within the Earth Terminus Pearl had been sealed for tens of thousands of years. Now, there was finally some movement. They had finally seen the hope of leaving the Earth Terminus Pearl. In the end, they were suddenly hit in the head, telling them that the movement just now was not caused by the old demon. How could they accept this? Everyone's gaze was fixed on the leader, hoping that everything he said was false. The leader looked at everyone's anxious gazes. Naturally, he knew that these people's wish was to leave the Earth Terminus Pearl. After all, No matter how good the Earth Terminus Pearl was, it could allow them to cultivate and break through continuously. However, after being here for tens of thousands of years, they were extremely tired. Even he was no exception. He still wanted to leave this place. However, just now, he had sensed Yihao's consciousness. It was completely different from the old demons. He had wanted to stop Yihao and talk to him. However, who knew that Yihao would react so quickly and leave the Earth Terminus Pearl without giving him a chance to speak? It's indeed not the master. It's a little fellow. He looked at everyone's anxious gazes. He did not lie and spoke the truth. How can this be? Master's Earth Terminus Pearl is the master's treasure. How can it be in the hands of a little fellow? What does that little fellow mean by sucking out all the Earth Terminus Black Chi? If that little fellow wants to keep us here forever, he might as well kill us. When everyone heard the leader's words, they did not seem to be lying. Their faces turned ugly. They could not help but worry. Would they be trapped in the Earth Terminus Pearl for the rest of their lives until they died? This was something that they did not dare to imagine. It was too terrifying. After all, they had reached the limit of their breakthroughs. This also meant that their lives were limited. Moreover, the Earth Terminus Black Chi in the Earth Terminus Pearl had been sucked out. If they wanted to cultivate, it would undoubtedly be harder than ascending to the heavens. If they were unable to cultivate or break through, they might really die here. Most importantly, staying here was more torturous than dying. Therefore, in an instant, the atmosphere turned gloomy. Chapter 12:12. Although that was what the leader said, his heart was beating like a drum. He could tell that Yihao's cultivation was very low. Furthermore, he had not controlled his strength well, so he must have scared Yihao. Otherwise, Yihao would not have sucked out all the Earth Terminus Black aura from the Earth Terminus Pearl. He could not help but regret that he had been so agitated from the start. He had not controlled his strength and killed the Skyene beast. He had not controlled his strength and scared Yihao away. In his opinion, if Yihao was a coward, he would probably never enter the Earth Terminus Pearl again in this lifetime, unless Yihao had enough cultivation to negotiate with them. However, Yihao was so weak. If they wanted Yihao to become strong, Yihao's talent aside, even if he was a genius, how long would they have to wait? Therefore, there was a very high chance that they would have to stay here forever. However, he was the backbone of this group, so he could only comfort them. He could only wait and see when Yihao would be able to enter. Or perhaps the Earth Terminus Pearl would fall into someone else's hands. Yihao sucked out the Earth Terminus Black aura from the Earth Terminus Pearl to a corner so that no one could use it. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. Although doing so would not have much of an effect on those people, at the very least, it would be able to suppress that group of people so that they could continue to cultivate. After doing all this, Yihao turned his gaze back to the pool. After all, his goal was the Inverse Fiend Lotus. Only by obtaining the Inverse Fiend Lotus would he be able to completely remove the Earth Terminus Black aura from the Purple Sky, Supreme, God Emperor, and the others. Skyene Spirit, bring me those lotuses. Yihao instructed the Skyene Spirit. After all, the Inverse Fiend Lotus was in the pool. The thick Earth Terminus Black aura was too terrifying. Other than the Skyene Spirit, he and Sulai would not be able to obtain the Inverse Fiend Lotus. Yes, Master. Upon hearing Yihao's command, the Skyene Spirit immediately retrieved all the Inverse Fiend Lotuses in the pool and handed them to Yihao. Yihao took the Inverse Fiend Lotus and felt a sense of relief in his heart. At the very least, Purple Sky Supreme God Emperor and the others could be saved. His next task was to find ZMO's whereabouts. One should know that he had never given up on searching for ZMO since he had come to the ancient demon territory. He had also sent out many spies to search for ZMO's whereabouts, but all this time, there was no trace of ZMO. Moreover, his current power was too small. Even if he wanted to find ZMO, he could only do it in his own territory. However, he could not go to someone else's territory to search. Otherwise, it would bring him endless trouble. After all, he could not openly search for ZMO. It was fine if it brought some trouble to him, but if it brought danger to Zemo, then it would be too late for regrets. After Yi Hao put away the reverse fiend lotus, he looked at the earth fiend pool in front of him and could not help but hesitate. One had to know that this pond might be incomparably dangerous to other people. However, to the heavenly Yin spirit, it was absolutely a great tool to level up. Therefore, he could not bear to part with this treasure and throw it away just like that. After all, if he missed this pond, he might not be able to find something like this pond in the future that could help the heavenly Yin spirit to level up his cultivation quickly. However, it was obvious that this pond was extremely rich. If he were to let the heavenly Yin spirit absorb it now, he would need a lot of time. Why not leave the heavenly Yin spirit here to cultivate? After thinking for a while, Yi Hao thought of a way that was not a way. It seems that this is the only way. Yi Hao thought for a while and could not think of any better way. After thinking, Yi Hao said to the heavenly Yin spirit, "Heavenly Yin spirit, stay here and cultivate well. Come and look for me after you have finished cultivating. Don't waste this earth fiend black chi." "Master, you don't have to do this." When the heavenly Yin spirit heard Yi Hao's words, he immediately said, "Huh? What do you mean?" When Yi Hao heard what the heavenly Yin spirit said, he was slightly stunned. However, in the next second, he understood what the heavenly Yin spirit meant. He did not know what the heavenly Yin spirit did, but he saw the pitch-black water in the pond being continuously sucked into the heavenly Yin spirit's body. It took a full hour to completely absorb all the earth fiend black chi in the pond. It could be seen that there was a terrifying amount of earth fiend black chi in the pond. It can actually do this. Yi Hao was slightly surprised by the heavenly Yin spirit's actions. However, it was obvious that the heavenly Yin spirit had absorbed the earth fiend black chi into his body and did not refine it. He was only storing it temporarily. However, this was considered good news to Yi Hao. After all, to be honest, he was really reluctant to leave such a powerful subordinate like the heavenly Yin spirit to cultivate. "Master, this way, I can follow you and refine this earth fiend black chi at the same time," the heavenly Yin spirit said happily. When Yi Hao heard what the heavenly Yin spirit said, he nodded in satisfaction. "Well done. Let's go. Let's leave this place." It could be said that he had gained a lot this time. Yi Hao smiled as he turned to leave. "Wait a minute. What is that?" Just as Yi Hao was about to turn around, he suddenly saw some milky white things at the bottom of the pond. When he heard Yi Hao's words, Sulai immediately looked over and said, "My lord, those seem to be seeds." Seeds that can remain intact in such a dense earth fiend black chi must be extraordinary. When Yi Hao thought of this, he did not hesitate any longer and jumped into the pond directly. They are actually the lotus seeds of the inverse fiend lotus. Yi Hao looked at the lotus seeds in his hand. Many of them actually showed signs of germination. With these lotus seeds, he could also mass produce the inverse fiend lotus. When he thought of this, Yi Hao's eyes lit up. Then Yi Hao put away all the inverse fiend lotus seeds. This was an incredible number. There were actually close to 1,000 of them. After Yi Hao put away the lotus seeds, he did not leave. Instead, he looked at the ground. This stone seems extraordinary too. Yi Hao could actually detect a large amount of earth fiend black chi from the ground. This was similar to the feeling of being able to detect spiritual energy from the spirit stones. Could this be the earth fiend black chi stone? Is it similar to the spirit stones? Yi Hao cannot help but guess. Then, Yi Hao used the system to check. Earth Fiend Stone, formed after being corroded by the Earth Fiend Black Chi day and night. It can absorb large amounts of Earth Fiend Black Chi. As expected, when he saw this, he was delighted. Then, he looked at Su Lai and said, "I'll leave this to you." "Yes, my lord." When Su Lai heard Yi Hao's order, he did not reject it and nodded directly. Chapter 12:13. Boom! The powerful spiritual energy hit the ground, causing countless earth fiend stones to shatter. Yi Hao did not stand on ceremony and hurriedly kept all the earth fiend stones into the system. After collecting the Earth Fiend stones, Su Lai continued to control the spiritual energy and bombarded the ground. After bombarding for dozens of times and busied himself for half a day, Yihao finally kept all the Earth Fiend stones into the system space. Yihao took one last look at the cave and realized that there was nothing else. Then, he turned around and left the Earth Fiend cave. Seems like someone is coming. One of the people waiting in front of the Earth Fiend Sky Demon cave suddenly said, "What? Someone is coming out. Could it be that the old demon has broken free and is escaping? I think it's very possible. It's all those two damn rats' fault. Then what should we do now? Are we going to escape? Wait, let's wait and see." The group of people stared nervously at the exit of the Earth Fiend Sky Demon cave. At the same time, all of them took out their weapons and started to prepare for battle. Before long, they saw Yihao and Su Lai walking out of the Earth Fiend Sky Demon cave. "It's you guys." Everyone was surprised when they saw that it was Yihao and Su Lai who came out. They originally thought that if Yihao and Su Lai encountered the old demon after entering the Earth Fiend Sky Demon cave, they should have been killed by the old demon. Now that they saw Yihao and Su Lai coming out alive, how could they not be surprised? Could it be that the old demon was restricted and did not kill the two of them? Or perhaps the two of them became the old demon's subordinates? Everyone looked at each other and could not help guessing for a moment. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that it was possible. Clearly, none of them thought that it was Yihao who killed the old demon, because to them, that was something that was absolutely impossible. After all, the old demon had been around for so long. Even if his strength was greatly reduced or he was restricted, he was still powerful. How could Yihao possibly kill someone like that? Yihao was the only one who could do anything. Why are you surprised that I came out? When Yihao saw the crowd from the Earth Fiend Sky Demon cave, he was slightly taken aback. However, he reacted quickly and chuckled. "My lord, these people's cultivation levels are not low. They are only below me." Su Lai looked at the crowd and said cautiously. Hearing Su Lai's words, Yihao did not care. If it was just Su Lai in the past, facing so many people, it might have been a little dangerous. However, it was different now. The growth of the heavenly Een spirit was so heaven-defying. Just the heavenly Een spirit alone was enough to kill these people. It is indeed very surprising. However, Zhang Tieching's face changed. He looked nervously at the heavenly Een spirit floating in the air and said, "Sect leader, elders, please raise your heads." When the crowd heard Zhang Tieching's words, they raised their heads in confusion. Then they frowned. What the hell is this? The crowd looked at the heavenly Een spirit. Obviously, they had never seen it before. "Stop trying to be mysterious." The third supreme elder was furious. He snorted unhappily, and the aura around him surged. Then, the third supreme elder was about to attack the heavenly Een spirit. "You're courting death." When Su Lai saw that the third supreme elder dared to attack the heavenly Een spirit, he looked at the third supreme elder mockingly. After all, he knew how powerful the heavenly Een spirit was. Even he couldn't fight back in front of the heavenly Een spirit, not to mention the third supreme elder, who was weaker than him. However, the crowd from the earthly fiend heavenly demon cave was waiting for the third supreme elder to kill the heavenly Een spirit and intimidate Yihao so that Yihao would be more obedient. The third supreme elder leaped up. The powerful spiritual energy in his body gathered on his palm, and he attacked the heavenly Een spirit fiercely. So powerful, when Zhang Taiching and Zhang Zihao saw the third supreme elder attack, they swallowed their saliva in shock. Looks like the third supreme elder is really angry this time. He actually used so much spiritual energy. Although I don't know what this thing is, the third supreme elder has used so much spiritual energy. It's a waste for the third supreme elder to use so much spiritual energy. That's good too. Kill that damn thing. Teach this brat a lesson for his arrogance. Chapter 12:14. However, just as the crowd was smiling as they watched the supreme third elder charge towards the heavenly Een spirit. In the next second, the crowd's expression changed. What are those things? The crowd could not help but exclaim when they saw the 10 heavenly Een battle beasts that suddenly appeared beside the heavenly Een spirit. The supreme third elder frowned when he saw so many heavenly Een battle beasts that suddenly appeared before him. However, he did not mind at all as he continued to send out a palm strike. In his opinion, his palm strike was enough to kill the heavenly Een spirit. Even if there were 10 more heavenly Een battle beasts, he would still be able to kill them. Just as the supreme third elder's palm strike was about to land on the heavenly Een spirit, suddenly, one of the heavenly Een battle beasts moved. The heavenly Een battle beast did not make any unnecessary movements as it charged straight towards the supreme third elder. This darn thing actually dared to attack third elder brother. Looks like that darn thing's resistance will be futile against third elder's palm strike. I reckon that darn thing will immediately be turned into nothingness. When the crowd saw that the heavenly Een battle beast actually took the initiative to attack the supreme third elder, and that it was only one heavenly Een battle beast that attacked the supreme third elder, they were all very surprised. Then they were filled with disdain. Frogs at the bottom of a well. Sulai looked at the people from the Earth Carnage sect and smiled disdainfully. Bang! Just at this moment, the heavenly Een battle beast and the supreme third elder collided together, creating a huge explosion. The supreme third elder did not even have the chance to react before he was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. As for the heavenly Een battle beast, it leaped up and used its sharp claws to press the supreme third elder onto the ground. Hiss! When the crowd saw this scene, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. That was because, in their opinion, this was simply too horrifying. No matter how one put it, the supreme third elder was considered one of the top powerhouses among them. But now, under the attack of the heavenly Een battle beast, he was unable to fight back at all and was pushed to the ground. One must know that there were a total of 10 heavenly Een battle beasts here. As they looked at the many lunar sky war beasts, their faces all turned extremely ugly. At this moment, under the sharp claws of the shady sky battle beast, the supreme third elder's complexion was deathly pale. Large droplets of sweat appeared on his forehead. However, just as the crowd was smiling as they watched the utmost supreme third elder charge towards the heavenly Een spirit, a voice suddenly rang out. In the next second, everyone's expression changed. What is that? When the crowd saw the 10 heavenly Een battle beasts that suddenly appeared beside the heavenly Een spirit, they could not help but exclaim. The third supreme elder frowned when he saw so many lunar war beasts suddenly appear in front of him. However, he didn't care at all and continued to strike out with his palm. In his opinion, this palm strike of his had already killed the heavenly Een spirit. Even if there were 10 more heavenly Een battle beasts, he would still be able to kill them. Right at the moment when utmost supreme third elder's palm strike was about to land on the heavenly Een spirit's body, suddenly, one of the sky Een battle beasts moved. The sky Een battle beast didn't make any unnecessary movements as it charged straight towards supreme third elder. This darn thing actually dared to take the initiative to attack third brother. Looks like that darn thing's resistance is useless against third brother's palm strike. I reckon that this darn thing will immediately be turned into nothingness. When the crowd saw that the sky Een battle beast actually took the initiative to attack supreme third elder, and that it was only one sky Een battle beast attacking supreme third elder, they were all very surprised. Then they were all filled with disdain. Frogs at the bottom of a well. Sulai looked at the Earth Fiend sex people and smiled disdainfully. Bang! Right at this moment, the sky Een battle beast and supreme third elder collided together, creating a huge explosion. Supreme third elder didn't even have the chance to react before he flew out like a kite with a broken string. As for that sky Een battle beast, it leaped up and used its sharp claws to press supreme third elder onto the ground. Hiss! When the crowd saw this scene, they all sucked in a breath of cold air violently, because to them, this was simply too horrifying. No matter how one put it, The Supreme Third Elder was considered one of the top powerhouses among them. But now, under the Skyene Battle Beast, he didn't even have the strength to fight back and was pushed to the ground. One must know that there were a total of 10 Skyene Battle Beasts here. When they saw the numerous Skyene Battle Beasts, their faces all turned extremely ugly. At this moment, Supreme Third Elder, who was under the sharp claws of the Skyene Battle Beast, turned ghastly pale. Large droplets of sweat appeared on his forehead. However, just as the crowd was smiling as they watched the utmost Supreme Third Elder charge towards the heavenly Een spirit, a voice suddenly rang out. In the next second, the crowd's faces changed. What were those things? When the crowd saw the 10 Skyene Battle Beasts that suddenly appeared beside the Skyene spirit, they couldn't help but exclaim. When Supreme Third Elder saw so many Skyene Battle Beasts that suddenly appeared in front of him, he frowned. However, he didn't care at all as he continued to attack with his palm strike. From his point of view, his palm strike would kill the Skyene spirit. Even if there were 10 more Skyene Battle Beasts, he would still be able to kill them. Just as Supreme Third Elder's palm strike was about to land on the Skyene spirit's body, a Skyene Battle Beast suddenly moved. Suddenly, one of the Skyene Battle Beasts moved. The Skyene Battle Beast didn't make any unnecessary movements as it charged straight toward Supreme Third Elder. This damn thing actually dared to attack Third Elder Brother. Looks like that damn thing's resistance will be useless under Third Elder's palm strike. I reckon that damn thing will be immediately turned into nothingness. When the crowd saw that the Skyene Battle Beast actually took the initiative to attack Supreme Third Elder, and that it was only one Skyene Battle Beast attacking Supreme Third Elder, they were all very surprised. Then, they were filled with disdain. Frogs at the bottom of a well. When Sulai saw the Earth Fiend sex people, he also smiled disdainfully. Bang! Just at this moment, the Skyene Battle Beast and Supreme Third Elder collided together, creating a loud explosion. Supreme Third Elder didn't even have a chance to react. Like a kite with a broken string, he was sent flying backwards. As for the Skyene Battle Beast, it leaped up and used its sharp claws to press Supreme Third Elder onto the ground. Hiss! When the crowd saw this scene, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. That was because in their eyes, this was simply too horrifying. No matter how one put it, the Supreme Third Elder was considered one of the top powerhouses among them. But now, under the Skyene Battle Beast, he didn't even have the strength to fight back and was pushed to the ground. One must know that there were a total of 10 Skyene Battle Beasts here. When they saw the numerous Skyene Battle Beasts, their faces all turned ugly. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.